Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, comprehensive manga, starting from the Soul Society and cutting through all the worlds. Chapter 31. When a person sees something that scares him, he will subconsciously avoid or push it away. This is an instinctive reaction and is quite normal. What's more, the girl at that time was still in an extremely uneasy state. Yi Cheng stretched his head and looked at the cliff in front of him, which was only about a few dozen meters high. Shima Yosake knew the flying magic, so he couldn't die anyway, so he didn't care about his life or death. The previous lesson about drought in the village was not profound enough. After what happened this time, that guy probably won't commit suicide so easily in the future. Sir, will your friend really be okay? How about we go to the bottom of the mountain to find him? I am familiar with the roads here. I want to apologize to him in person. The originally panicked girl began to calm down now, and said to Yi Cheng with a remorseful look on her face. As the girl spoke, she was also observing Yi Cheng's appearance. Now she just felt that the big brother in front of her was really handsome. There is no harm without comparison. After being frightened by Shima Yosake's strange appearance, Yi Cheng's originally handsome face now seemed to the girl to be earth-shatteringly handsome. Even the girl didn't even think about it. If the person who just rushed forward to protect their siblings was the eldest brother of Yi City, she might not have panicked and pushed the person down the mountain. No need, it's just that the mountain of this height can't kill that guy, and you don't have to go out of your way to apologize. It's also good to let that guy improve his memory. Where is your original village? I'll go see how many orcs there are. Quote. For the orcs, these siblings obviously have a huge shadow. Under normal circumstances, they would avoid them, let alone actively seek out the orcs. But for some reason, when the girl saw Yi Cheng's confident and indifferent attitude, her face blushed unconsciously, and then she brought Yi Cheng to the village where they were originally located. When they came to the girl's village, it seemed like a hell on earth. Many houses have completely collapsed, there are many human limbs and pools of blood on the ground, and there are also many women with torn clothes who were obviously ravaged to death. After witnessing this scene, Yi Cheng finally understood why Shima Yosake, who had a half-orc face, would be attacked by groups no matter which village he went to. There are many demi-human races in this world, but orcs and goblins are the most numerous, the most brutal, and the most often attack human villages. They mostly move in groups and possess a certain degree of intelligence. They will attack human villages to plunder food. And because they are a demi-human race, they will also take away the young women in the village for reproduction. This is why their number is getting larger and larger. Reason. The village in front of them has almost no trace of living people, but there are still many orcs eating in the village, and many are still wandering in the village, trying to find lone prey. You guys, wait for me here. I'll go clean up the trash and I'll be back soon. Yi Cheng, who had just been exposed to the sight of the orcs, immediately attracted the attention of several orcs on the outskirts of the village. When they saw that there were still lone humans, these orcs also held weapons in their hands and uttered unclear words. He rushed over to Yi Cheng. Facing the orcs that rushed up, Yi Cheng only held the knife with one hand, and waved the knives in front of him with seemingly ease. These orcs were 1 meter away from Yi City. The front stopped. The next second, with a large amount of blood spraying out from these orcs like a fountain, the bodies of these orcs also exploded in the air, and instantly broke into several pieces and fell to the ground. From the beginning to the end, Yi Cheng's expression was very indifferent, as if he had done something indifferent. Not even a drop of the blood splattered by the orcs splashed onto Yi Cheng's clothes. Superior. Seeing more orcs attracted by the passive movement, Yi Cheng also calmly shook off the blood on the long knife in his hand, then sheathed the knife and stretched out one hand forward. Magic power also burst out immediately. It's really faster to clean up trash like fish this way. The beast bone spears dotted all over the place, the wheels of red crystal steel moving, the wind stopped and the sky disappeared, the sound of spears hitting each other filled the virtual city. Chapter 63. Thunder Roar Cannon. Quote. As Yi Cheng continued to chant incantations, huge magic power continued to gather in his hands at an astonishing speed. The violent golden arcs, like electric snakes, directly plowed black ravines on the ground. In just a few seconds, a super-large golden thunder ball with a diameter of nearly more than 5 meters formed in front of Yi Cheng. The golden thunder light even plunged the surrounding area into a dazzling white light. The dozens of orcs who came out of the village after hearing the sound originally planned to swarm up and kill the human in front of them. However, when they saw the violent thunder ball in their hands, they stopped sprinting forward. Orcs are not smart, but they are not completely brainless either. They are also afraid of death. When they felt the terrifying aura of the thunder roar cannon, and the powerful magic power of Yi Chang at this moment, these orcs also began to get scared, and after a brief hesitation, they began to turn around and run away. As a biological instinct, you feel the danger and realize the difference in strength, but it's too late. The weak and the strong eat the fittest, just like the village that you have ravaged. If I want to kill you, it will be like crushing ants. Quote. Looking at the dozens of orcs turning around to escape, Yi Chang pushed the giant thunder cannon out without any hesitation. And the huge thunder cannon with its violent electric light plowed a half-meter deep ravine on the ground, crashed directly into the crowd of orcs, and exploded instantly. Boom! Following a burst of dazzling white light, the entire village and even the surrounding area for several kilometers felt slightly shaking. Even the rough-skinned orcs can't stop the otherworldly version of the thunder cannon that Yi Chang sings completely. The violent thunder and lightning are like sharp swords, easily tearing apart the bodies of these orcs, and at the same time emitting scorching heat. The high temperature burned the orc's body in an instant. The thunderstorm raged for half a minute. When everything subsided, only a giant pit with a diameter of tens of meters and a surface covered with scorched earth was left on the field. As for the dozens of orcs, let alone the body was complete, and even the bones and residue could not be found at all. Seeing the scene in front of them, the siblings who were driven away by the orcs were stunned on the spot. To be honest, she had been affected by Yi Chang's appearance before, so when she was so fascinated, the girl would take Yi City back to the village in a daze. But when she saw the dozens of orcs ravaging the village and the scene that was like purgatory on earth, the girl suddenly came to her senses and even regretted her previous actions. Orcs are not invincible monsters, but Brother Yi Chang is only one person in front of him. How can he deal with such a large number of orcs? When she saw Yi Chang walking towards the village alone, the girl thought about rushing out and driving Yi Chang back and forth many times. However, before she could take action, 3 orcs wandering outside the village had already rushed towards Yi City. However, what the girl didn't expect was that the half-orc, who was huge and could knock down a house with one punch, and was no match for 3 or 5 adults, could be so easily defeated in front of this handsome man from Yi City. Beheaded. Moreover, not 1 orc was killed instantly, but 3. And although the girl was staring intently the whole time, the girl was still completely confused as to how the 3 orcs were hacked to death. In her sight, she only saw 3 orcs charging towards Night City with great force. The next second, these 3 orcs instantly turned into corpses all over the ground. Seeing Yi Chang killing the orcs so easily, the girl hiding behind not only did not feel fear at this moment, she even trembled with excitement. These orcs destroyed their home and killed their parents. Now watching them die tragically under the sword of Night City, a sense of pleasure of revenge arose spontaneously. And before the girl could get excited for a long time, she saw dozens of orcs rushing towards Night City in groups. Just as she clasped her hands together, she inadvertently started to worry about Night City again. That scene just now. Okay, the matter has been resolved, you can come out. After a thunder cannon instantly wiped out all the orcs that were ravaging the village, Yi Chang also spoke to his siblings hiding behind. At this moment, the 2 siblings, looking at the large pit with a diameter of more than tens of meters on the field, and even the thunder light dancing around the pit, obviously still had not completely calmed down. Brother Yi Chang, you are not an S-level adventurer, are you? The girl looked at the handsome white-haired brother in front of her with an expression that was not only grateful but also full of admiration. Not only was he handsome, but he was also so powerful. Not only did he save their siblings before, but he also avenged himself. So according to the general fairy tale version, will this handsome eldest brother take them away and live a happy life from now on? She was originally a young girl who had just begun to fall in love, but Yi Chang's previous series of operations had instantly boosted the girl's favorability level, so it was quite normal for a young girl to have such thoughts. However, what made the girl a little disappointed was that the handsome white-haired guy in front of her was a straight man. He ignored the girl's expectant eyes and said, "I should have just killed the orcs in your village." From now on, you guys can continue to live here, and I have to go back to the guild to report. Quote. After hearing what Yi Cheng said, the girl held her younger brother, who was only 7 or 8 years old, and looked at the devastated village with a sad expression on her face. Although it was not stated clearly, the meaning was very obvious. Now that there were only 2.5-year-old children left in the village, how could they continue to live here? There is a cellar in the farm on the left side of your village. I sense the auras of many strangers there. They should be survivors of your village. You can go back to find them. If you have any more requests in the future, you can find me at the Adventurers Guild in Mag Town. I'm an E-level adventurer there. Of course, I will charge you for the next commission, so this time it will be an advantage for you. Quote. After leaving such words, Yi Cheng left without looking back. The girl who was still staying there looked at Yi Cheng's gradually leaving back, with a melancholy look on her face at this moment. There is indeed a mag town nearby, and it is quite prosperous, but the girl does not believe that a person as powerful as Yi Cheng can be an E-level adventurer. The reason why I say this is probably because I don't want to find him. Although there were many episodes, Night City returned to the town again one day later, and came to the Adventurers Guild Dusty. When she saw that Yi Cheng had returned safely, the guild's receptionist, Sonia, also breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, she had never seen an E-level adventurer go through so many levels to take on A-level missions, and there were still 2 of them this time. Just over a week has passed, and the 2 A-level missions are not close to each other. The round trip alone is estimated to take 5 or 6 days. The remaining 1 or 2 days are spent on conquering the underground maze and subjugating. For the poisonous monitor lizard, time is obviously far from enough. So of course, seeing Yi Cheng returning at this moment, Sonia naturally thought that Yi City's mission this time had failed, or that it had only reached a certain progress, and now it was coming back for supplies or giving up. It's okay, Yi Cheng. You are still very young, and you have just become an adventurer. It is already quite remarkable that you can come back alive from an A-level mission. The underground maze and the poisonous giant lizard are not easy to guide. Maybe we try to take on the B level. Oh no, is it a C level or D level mission? Quote. As an usher in the Adventurers Guild, it is not uncommon for Sonia to find adventurers who fail in their missions. Yi Cheng is a new adventurer, and he still has such strength, but he failed to complete the commission for the first time. Sonia was also worried that Yi Cheng, who had great potential, would never recover, so she took the initiative to comfort him. However, after hearing what Sonia said, Yi Cheng showed a puzzled look on his face, and looked at Sonia in confusion and said, Miss Sonia, what are you talking about? I didn't say that the mission failed. I'm here to complete the registration procedures and receive the mission reward. That's right, that's right. There aren't many people who can complete the A-level mission. What? You said you completed the mission and are here to go through the registration formalities. Conquering the underground labyrinth, and conquering the poisonous giant lizard. Which of these 2 A-level tasks have you completed? Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, Sonia was stunned for a moment, then looked at Yi Cheng in surprise and asked. Of course I have completed both, otherwise why would I have accepted both tasks when we set off? This is the proof of completing the task. Please help Miss Suoya register it for me, and also settle the payment for me. Quote. Seeing Yi Cheng taking out one piece of Warcraft material from the tattered package behind his back and placing it on the counter, Sonia's expression became more and more shocked, until she was completely stunned at the back. Because Yi Cheng had made such a big noise in the Adventurers Guild before, he was somewhat famous in the guild. So when they saw him taking out one piece of Warcraft material at this moment, many adventurers in the guild also gathered around him with curious faces. Hey, dear, this is the tail of the shadow lizard. Even a B-level adventurer can easily be attacked to death if he is not prepared. There are actually more than 10 of them here. The shadow lizard is just a feather. Look at the pair of fangs that exude cold air. Those are the ice fangs of the ice python, the best material for making daggers. The ice python is a boss-level monster, and even an A-level adventurer team may not be able to easily defeat it. Quote. Looking at the trophies that Yi Cheng took out, the gasps and exclamations around him came one after another, because the Warcraft materials that Yi City took out were all quite high-end, just like the pair of wolves of the ice python. The value of teeth is enough to allow an ordinary person to have food and drink for 10 years. As more and more adventurers gathered around, the commotion became louder and louder, so much so that the guild leader who was chatting about life with his little secretary upstairs was alarmed again. However, he went downstairs angrily, and when he saw a lot of Warcraft materials on the counter in the dusty night city, he forced a smile on his face. Sonia, what are you still doing? Why don't you quickly help Mr. Yi Cheng click on the World of Warcraft materials to confirm the completion of the commission? Hearing the guild leader's shout, Sonia finally reacted, and then began to pick up the Warcraft materials on the counter and began to identify them. As an usher in a guild, appearance is secondary, and the most important thing is that his appraisal skill level is high. Otherwise, the receptionist would not even have the ability to distinguish the authenticity of the mission materials submitted by the adventurers, so how to determine whether the other party has completed the commission? The tail of the shadow lizard, the wings of the vampire bat, the eyes of the gun-footed spider, and the fangs and python skin of the ice python, these are indeed the materials of the monster in the underground labyrinth. Especially the boss-level ice python. Judging from the level of these materials, there should be no problem. Quote, every time she picked up a piece of material from her hand for identification, Sonia's surprised expression would deepen. It wasn't until she finally identified the material on the ice python that Sonia was shocked to discover that Yi City had actually been conquered by herself. That underground maze. And excluding the time spent traveling, the other party actually did it in such a short period of time. After appraising the materials for the first commission, conquering the underground labyrinth, Sonia started to pick up another small pile of black Warcraft materials on the counter. Judging from the color and smell of these Warcraft materials, it is not difficult to see that these materials should all come from the same Warcraft. However, when Sonia picked up a piece of material that looked like a unicorn and used his identification skills to identify it, his previously stable mentality was replaced by shock. Seeing Sonia holding a piece of black horny material in silence for a long time, the adventurers around him who were still curious quickly stopped and asked one by one, Sonia, what kind of monster material is it? That's right. Could it be a Warcraft material that is more advanced than the ice python? Brother Yi Cheng is going to defy the heavens. Because of the noisy noises around her, Sonia finally recovered from her surprise. Then she looked at Yi Cheng and the guild leader seriously and said, the level of these monster materials is too high. My identification skills are not high enough. It is impossible to confirm what kind of material dropped from the monster. Hearing what Sonia said, all the adventurers present, including the guild leader, were stunned. Sonia is already the best counter staff in the Adventurers Guild, and has the highest identification skill level. It stands to reason that the second, poisonous giant lizard, to be conquered in Night City should be higher than the ice python no matter how high the level is. It's better not to go there. Give me the material and let me identify it. After hearing what Sonia said, the president of the Adventurers Guild reached out and took the material in Sonia's hand, preparing to appraise the material. Before he became the president of the Adventurers Guild, he also worked as a staff member, so his appraisal skill level is higher. However, when the guild leader took over the World of Warcraft materials from Sonia's hand and used the appraisal skill on it, the information entry that popped up on it almost scared the guild leader away from the materials in his hands. Demon poison, dragons, dragon horn. The president's hesitating voice made the people around him unable to hear clearly, so at this moment everyone began to impatiently urge the president to speak more clearly. However, the guild leader who reacted completely ignored the idle adventurers around him. Instead, he turned to look at Yi Cheng seriously and asked, you picked up this Warcraft material, still. What did you pick up? It took me a lot of effort to get rid of it, okay. This guy is the poisonous giant lizard in your commission. It is indeed a giant lizard, but a flying giant lizard. Quote. Upon hearing Yi Cheng's words, the guild leader fell silent, and looked at Yi Cheng with eyes that were no longer filled with admiration, but with complete awe. The poisonous dragon of the subspecies dragon, even if placed on the level of the entire world, is a boss-level monster, and now it was killed by the young man in front of him single-handedly. This is no longer a question of whether it's powerful or not, but it's simply outrageous. The guild leader didn't think Yi Cheng was lying, because the poisonous giant lizard and the poisonous dragon were monsters from 2 dimensions, and Yi Cheng didn't have to provoke the stronger and more dangerous poisonous dragon just for an A-level commission. Moreover, although the pile of monster materials on the counter was not much, almost every part of the dragon's body was present. It was hard to say that I was lucky enough to pick it up. What about the other materials? If you really defeat the poisonous poison, that poisonous monster, it should have more than this amount of materials, right? The poison dragon is a subspecies of dragon, and the materials on it are all high-end materials that can be found but cannot be found. Although these things are Yi City's private property, he can purchase them on behalf of the guild. The guy was too big. Although it was not impossible to drag the body back, I thought it would be too troublesome, so I only removed the materials that seemed useful from it, and threw the rest on the roadside. There was no space equipment in Yecheng, and the journey was already far. He felt that dragging the body of the demonic poison dragon would delay the process, so he abandoned it halfway. What the hell, you prodigal son, you actually threw away the poisonous dragon that you finally killed as rubbish. Demon poison dragon. That black material is the material of the subspecies dragon clan demon poison dragon. That super powerful sub-dragon boss that even if an S-class adventurer encounters it, he can only turn around and run away. Quote. Looking at the adventurers around him who were suddenly like a frying pan, the guild leader also knew that he had just been too excited and angry, so he spilled the beans. Yi Cheng originally wanted to keep the matter of killing the demonic poison dragon a secret because he also had selfish motives. Adventurers of the same level as Night City, no matter which town they go to, are the targets of adventurer guilds. If adventurer guilds from other places find out about this, there is no guarantee that they will come and rob them without shame, people. Well, the smell of that poisonous dragon is not good to begin with. In addition, I couldn't afford to sell the space equipment before. In order to avoid exceeding the mission time, I had no choice but to throw it away. Compared to the excited guild leader and adventurers, Yi Cheng acted quite calmly, as if what he was throwing away was not high-level monster materials but just a bunch of burdens. Brother Yecheng, no, Boss Yecheng, may I ask where the place where you abandoned the demonic poison dragon's body is located? Yes, Mr. Yecheng, can you tell me in detail the place where you discarded the body of the demonic poison dragon? Since you don't like those rags, instead of taking advantage of others, it's better to take advantage of the people in our guild. When I come back, I will definitely treat my brother to a drink, and it will be the best kind, without any hesitation. Quote. Just kidding, the poison dragon is also a sub-dragon boss. Almost all the dragon species are full of treasures. There is no so-called garbage. Although the materials brought back by Night City are indeed the most precious ones in the poison dragon, it does not mean that other materials are not valuable. If you can know where the demonic poison dragon was abandoned in Night City and rush there now, if you are lucky, you can still pick up some scraps. But no matter how rare the parts are, as long as they are from Yulong, it is comparable to them going out to complete several commissions, and there is no danger at all. Since you want to know, I can't tell you, but to kill that poisonous dragon, I also consumed a lot of precious props and potions, which can be said to be a huge loss. If I let you pick up something cheap for nothing, then my heart will definitely be unbalanced, so everyone should understand what I mean, right? Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, the adventurers who were watching were also stunned for a moment, secretly sighing that a newcomer in Yi City could be so clever. However, compared to the priceless materials of the demonic poison dragon, everyone suddenly felt that giving Yi City some benefits was quite cost-effective. After all, as the other party said, if you want to defeat a powerful boss like the demonic poison dragon, you don't know how much you have to pay. At what cost? Only Sonia, the civil servant who had been silently watching all this, watched this scene with a wry smile. No one knew the situation before Night City better than her. Such precious potions and props, Yi Cheng even borrowed money from her to buy food and weapons before setting off. The little money she lent to Yi City was not enough to buy any rare and precious props or medicines. So, Brother Yecheng, how much money are you going to ask for before you give us the information? Giving money is not the problem, but how much is the key. If the Lion of Night City opens his mouth, everyone is not a fool. Besides, the guy who chats and slaps in the Adventurers Guild every day, how much spare money can he have? The first one who came to me to buy information paid 10 gold coins, the second one came to me and bought it for 8 gold coins, the third one bought it for 5 gold coins, and so on. Every time I sell information, I will sell it to the second person 10 minutes apart. What do you think of this proposal? Quote. Sonia and the guild leader on the side were obviously stunned when they heard about Yi City's method of selling information. Originally, they wanted to mention Yi City, but they didn't expect that he was not only very powerful, but also so smart. Yi Cheng would do this to protect his own interests. After all, information is passed down by word of mouth. Even if it is a secret at first, if more people know about it, then the secret will no longer be a secret. If any of the adventurers in front of him bought his information and later shared it with others, or sold secondhand information at a low price, then he was still a fool. But with the sales method like Night City, such a problem will not arise. He sells the information to the first person for 10 gold coins. What if you are the first person to know this information, and you or no one will know this information in a short time? Will you share this secret with others? The answer is of course no. People are selfish animals. If you can share the material of the poisonous dragon, which is priceless, with others when you can get there first, isn't that a fool's act? The same is true for the second person who knows the information. It is impossible for him to inform the third or subsequent competitors. The first person who knows the information has already set off in advance, so naturally he will not waste time. Therefore, this kind of information selling method can maximize the interests of Night City. And because Yecheng didn't sell information to everyone at once, the price was set quite reasonably so that they wouldn't feel like they were cheating. The price of 10 gold coins is almost equivalent to the price of an A-level commission. Even if the adventurers present want to take out so much money at once, it is not an easy task. But they didn't think the price was too outrageous. After all, it was a chance to pick up the poisonous dragon material of the sub-dragon species for free. Brother Yecheng, we plan to be the first to buy your information. After a moment of silence, the adventurer team finally collected enough money and walked to Yecheng with a bag of gold coins. President, is there a quieter room you can lend us? Go to the office upstairs. I'll tell my secretary Linda that you can't hear me from downstairs. You can rest assured. After hearing the conversation between Yi Cheng and the guild leader, the adventurer who had stretched his ears to take advantage suddenly showed a look of disappointment. After receiving the benefits, Yi Cheng didn't hide anything at all and revealed the location where he dismembered and abandoned the demonic poison dragon. You were right to make the immediate decision to buy my information, because it has been almost 2 days since I left. It would be impossible for ordinary people to go to such a wilderness, but beasts and monsters would probably be attracted to the flesh and blood of the poisonous dragon. If we had gone there any later, there probably wouldn't even be any bones left. Quote. After obtaining information about Night City, this adventurer team also took the map and left the Adventurers Guild with excitement on their faces. As for the adventurers downstairs, someone had originally collected enough gold coins, but in line with professional ethics, Night City would have to wait 10 minutes before selling the second piece of information. The two commissions of conquering the underground labyrinth and conquering the poisonous monsters brought a total of 35 gold coins to Night City. Coupled with those miscellaneous Warcraft materials, Night City gained another 500 gold coins after being acquired by the Adventurers Guild. Then he sold the information later, and he earned more than 100 gold coins, plus the treatment fee given by the elf girl. It was during this trip that Yi Cheng earned nearly 700 gold coins. Based on the exchange ratio of gold coins to copper coins, Yi City earned Shima Yosake in more than 9 figures during this trip. After all, the latter's the price is only 3 copper coins. Miss Sonia, this is the money I borrowed from you before, and the rent I am going to pay you. Please don't refuse. After making a huge profit, Yi Cheng naturally quickly paid back the money he owed before and expressed his gratitude to Sonia. Sonia originally wanted to decline politely, but considering that Yi City is not short of money now, and with its strength, it is certain that he will become richer and richer, so he reached out and took the gold coins handed over by Yi City. This, I seem to have given you too much. Yi City, even if the rent is included, it shouldn't be that much. Sonia reached out to take the bag handed over by Yi Cheng. As soon as she opened it, she found that the amount of gold coins inside was far greater than the amount she had lent to Yi Cheng before. Please don't mind it. The extra money is the interest I paid. It is only natural to lend money to interest. What's more, the risk that Miss Sonia lent me before was so high. As a new adventurer, she might get lost in this mission. Then the money that Miss Sonia lent me would have been wasted. Huge risks will naturally lead to high returns. If Miss Sonia doesn't accept the money, I will feel bad about it. Quote. Hearing Yi Cheng's lucid analysis, Sonia retracted the hand that she originally planned to extend, and then said with a smile, if that's the case, then I won't be polite. But now everyone in the guild probably doesn't dare to think that you are a new adventurer. I have never seen a new adventurer jump from E-level to A-level adventurer 5 times in a row. If adventurers of S-level and above didn't need approval from the headquarters and completed corresponding assessment tasks, the president would have promoted you to S-level directly. Quote. I didn't expect that in just over a week, Yecheng, you would become the most popular person in our guild. Even if your sister doesn't take care of you deliberately, the adventurers here will respect you. After all, they have taken advantage of you. Quote. Listening to Sun Ya's sour tone, Yi Cheng instantly put on a mask of pain and said, I really didn't know that thing was so valuable. If I knew that the poisonous dragon was a rare commodity, I would be really tired. Even if you die, drag it back to the city. As soon as he talked about this, someone in Yecheng felt a twinge of pain. According to Sonia, all the materials on the demonic poison dragon are priceless, even the highly poisonous flesh and blood on it, although it is not edible, but it can also be used to make potions. If you can hunt down a demonic poison dragon, its price is conservatively estimated to be over tens of thousands of gold coins. However, such precious materials were thrown away by Yecheng as if they were rubbish. The poisonous dragon materials brought back by Yi City can actually be sold for thousands of gold coins. After all, he collects special parts such as dragon claws, dragon teeth, dragon horns, and dragon tails. However, Yi Cheng had no intention of selling these materials. Instead, he planned to use them as materials and entrust the town's top blacksmiths to help make a long knife and other equipment. He was originally able to go straight to a well-off life and live a life of eating and waiting to die in another world, but in the end, he missed out on hundreds of millions because of his own operations. It is normal for those adventurers to be grateful and enthusiastic about themselves now, because after purchasing information from Night City, they also found the place where Night City abandoned the demonic poison dragon's body. Although the original remains of the poisonous dragon were eaten away by some wild beasts and poisonous poisons, nothing was left. However, just picking up some dragon bones and dragon scales also allowed these adventurers to make a small profit of dozens of gold coins. Yi Cheng, who left the Adventurers Guild in the evening, learned from his experience and decided that his first goal now is to learn space storage skills. If he can't learn it or no one is willing to teach him, then space equipment must be arranged as soon as possible. Experiencing blood loss once was enough. Yecheng would not let such history repeat itself a second time. After running around for many days and having a lot of money now, Yi Cheng went to the tavern to have a good meal, and then decided to go home and rest first, and then think about weapon forging and space equipment tomorrow. The pub that Yi Cheng chose happened to be the same one where Shima Yosake had been sold to before, and the person who entertained Yi Cheng was still the same boss with a cruel face. However, when Yi Cheng luxuriously ordered a table of luxurious dishes worth 3 gold coins, the tavern owner was not as enthusiastic as before, but asked Yi Cheng to show off his financial resources first. It was enough for him to do a loss-making business once. Now an experienced tavern owner, he said that he would never be cheated on for nothing a second time. Yi Cheng didn't talk nonsense about this, and directly threw a small bag of gold coins on the table. When the golden coins fell out of the bag, the boss with a sinister face also fully demonstrated in front of him what the ultimate beauty is, art. After having enough wine and food, Yi Cheng followed his memory and returned to the house rented to him by Sonia. He didn't even live in the house that Sonia rented to him. He simply tidied up his room before leaving. Crack. When he saw the scene in front of him, Yi Cheng was stunned for a moment, and then quickly closed the door before the other party could react, and then slapped himself. Did I just get drunk? So I'm hallucinating now, but even if there is a hallucination, why is she the one who appears? It's undeniable that her looks are nothing to say, but in terms of figure, how can pair be compared to E and F like sister Hannah and Rengoku? Quote, "Well, I must have opened it the wrong way just now. Let's try it again now." After comforting himself, Yi Cheng put his hand on the door handle again and pushed the door open. However, what he saw was not the so-called beautiful scenery, but an orange-haired girl with a shy look on her face. She was holding a long sword on his neck with a bright red face. "Why are you here, and what did you just see?" The elf girl holding a long sword on Yi Cheng's neck looked extremely embarrassed at this moment. She never thought that she would go home after a long absence, and just after taking a shower and getting ready to change clothes, she would be beaten by the uninvited guest got a good look. Moreover, she actually knew this uninvited guest. To be precise, she should have just met him not long ago, and they had just separated not long ago. The elf girl Kui was only wearing a bath towel at the moment, because Yi Cheng's appearance just now was so sudden that she had no time to change her clothes, or maybe she was afraid that when she was changing her clothes, Yi Cheng would suddenly appear again. "Open the door. You guy, you didn't follow me here." Looking at Yi Cheng in front of her, Kui looked embarrassed. Originally, because she was rescued by Yi Cheng, Kui had a pretty good impression of Yi City. However, after what happened just now, Kui's perception of Yi City has changed a lot. "I have lived here for a while." Kui originally chose to rent this area because it was far away from the neighborhood and relatively quiet compared to other places. She saw Yi Cheng for the first time a few days ago when she was fighting against the demonic poison dragon, but today he suddenly appeared in her home. If it was a coincidence, Kui would definitely not believe it. Rather than the so-called coincidence, she preferred to believe that she was being followed. "Would you believe me if I said it was really just a coincidence and I lived here too?" Looking at the sword in his hand that was getting closer to his neck, Yi Cheng said this bravely. In fact, not to mention that Kui didn't believe what he said, even Yi Cheng himself felt that this was incredible. It turned out that the beautiful neighbor that Sonia mentioned before was actually the elf girl in front of him. No wonder Sonia had reminded her before that she must not provoke her. In terms of strength, Kui, as an elf, not only has much greater magic power than ordinary people, but also uses elf secrets and has good swordsmanship, which is indeed far stronger than ordinary human adventurers. In the one-on-one challenge with the demonic poison dragon, although he was defeated, this did not mean that Kui was not strong enough. It could only be said that the enemy, the demonic poison dragon, was too powerful. "I am the new tenant who moved here about a week ago. I live in the room opposite your door. There should still be my few luggage in it. And the owner of this mansion is Miss Sonia who works in the Adventurers Guild. This is the magic key she gave me. If these are not enough to prove my identity, maybe we can go to the Adventurers Guild to find it." Miss Ya confronts her face to face. Quote, looking at the long sword on his neck, even with Yi Cheng's strength, it was not impossible to run away before Kui wiped his neck with the sword. But if he really does this, then the matter will really be unclear, and he will definitely be labeled as a pervert if he absconds in fear of crime. Yi Cheng himself didn't mind being regarded as a pervert, but Kui was also one of Sonia's tenants. The teller had helped him so much before, and he didn't want to cause any more trouble to her. Even if you are also a tenant of this house, you should knock on the door before entering. You should also understand this basic etiquette issue. Although this house has 2 rooms, the hall, kitchen, bathroom and other places are all shared by us. You should have understood this when you came here before. Quote, when she saw the key in Yi Cheng's hand and said the name of the landlord Suoya, Kui actually believed that what Yi Cheng said was true. But she was exposed like this, and she was the one who suffered the loss no matter what. So at this moment, the elf girl was naturally very angry and blamed Yi Cheng. Of course, blame belongs to blame, but at this moment, after confirming that Yi Cheng was not a pervert following her to spy on him, the elf girl finally put away the guy who was hanging on Yi Cheng's neck. "You can't blame me entirely for this. Miss Sonia said before that there is another tenant here. But she also said that the other tenant only comes back every 10 days and a half. I didn't expect it to be such a coincidence that that tenant turned out to be you. And this elf lady, since you know that the living room is a shared place, please don't be so unrestrained. Can't you just change clothes in the living room instead of changing in your own room?" Quote, seeing that Yi Cheng had saved her before, Kui was originally ready to put things to rest. But now, after hearing Yi Cheng's words, she suddenly acted like a little she-cat with hairy fur. She put her hands on her hips and said, "Hey, I don't know. I didn't know you would suddenly move in here. I was the only one here before. And don't act nice when you get an advantage. No matter how you looked at it just now, I was the one who suffered." Quote. Because only Kui lived here before, and since she returned to town, Kui hadn't met Sonia yet, so naturally she didn't know about Yi Cheng moving here. If she knew there was a second tenant here, Kui would naturally not be able to change clothes in the living room so boldly. Because Yi City saved her before, it is true that Kui has a certain fondness and curiosity for Yi City, but it is just a good feeling, and it has not reached the point of giving such a big benefit at the beginning. Well, it was just a fleeting moment, and I closed the door. I thought it was an illusion, so I didn't see anything. Besides, I don't think there's anything worth seeing on you. At worst, I'll let you see it. Besides, you're an elf, and I don't even know how old you are. I'm a sunny and cheerful boy. I'll let you see it. If you come back, you won't lose anything at all. Anyway, if you want any compensation for mental damages, it will definitely be impossible. Yi Cheng looked sincere on the surface, but did he really not see anything in the welfare scene just now? That is naturally impossible. As a strong man who has practiced swordsmanship to a certain extent, his five senses have long been trained to be much sharper than ordinary people. Even though in that brief moment, Yi Cheng, with a sudden glance, had completely seen the elf girl in front of him, at least he had seen everything that should be seen and what should not be seen. It's over. And as an experienced veteran, even the few frames just now are stored in the hard drive of Yi City's brain, at least several gigabytes of high-definition lossless CG. As for the words that are not worth mentioning, of course it is also against one's will. Although Kui's chest muscles are a little flatter, that is still relatively speaking. If compared to the beauty of Rengoku and Sister Hua, there is naturally a big gap. However, as a long-lived elf, Sui's skin is as firm and fair as a baby's. And it's not attractive, compared to behemoths like Sister Hua and Rengoku. If compared to a pair of A's like Sui Feng, Sui is actually quite large. As soon as Yi Cheng finished speaking, a sword light suddenly flashed in front of him and landed on the ground where Yi Cheng was just standing. The sharp sword blade was even deeply embedded in the floor at this moment. I will definitely chop you to death this time. Kui's full name is Sequiluchula Zager Runolulia Aglan Zelga Elgar. If it is other elves or some more knowledgeable humans, they will hear this name. At that time, it was already roughly guessed that Kui was not an ordinary elf, but a member of the royal family of the elf. Because among the elves, Elgar's surname belongs to the royal family, and an elf girl who can be named in this form is either a queen or a princess. In fact, this is indeed the case. Kui's true identity is the princess of the Elgar clan. The reason why she left the tribe was because she needed to collect ancient relics left around the world for some reasons. Ancient relics are magic props passed down from ancient times. Each ancient relic has powerful and incredible power. However, because it is too old, not many people know how to use these ancient relics. The reason why Kui approached the demonic poison dragon before was actually not because she had received any commission, or because she wanted to help the surrounding villages eradicate cancer, but because she had found out that there were lost ancient relics in the demonic poison dragon's lair. However, it was a pity that when she went to defeat the demonic poison dragon alone, she underestimated the strength of the demonic poison dragon and failed to obtain the ancient relics. This time she almost threw herself into the street. If Yi Cheng hadn't come to the rescue at that time, she might have died there. After killing the poisonous dragon in Night City, Kui relied on the intelligence she collected to quickly find the hidden lair of the poisonous dragon. Unfortunately, except for some treasures, there was nothing she was looking for in the lair. Ancient relics. Considering Yi Cheng's previous performance, he was completely obsessed with money. In order to prevent him from encountering Yi Cheng again in the future, he had no chips in his hands. So without finding the ancient relics, Kui packed up all the valuable treasures in the demonic poison dragon's lair and took them away using the royal secrets of the elves, leaving only a pile of rags in Yecheng. After all, he had played a part in the attack on the demonic poison dragon. Before Yi Cheng took action, he had also consumed most of the opponent's magic power and physical strength, so Yi Cheng could win so easily. The whole body material of the demonic poison dragon is the most valuable. Now that the big head is left to Yi Cheng, she just secretly took the treasure of the small head. This shouldn't be too much, right? It was also because of Kui's operation that Yi Cheng, who had wasted a lot of effort afterwards, went to find the demonic poison dragon's lair. He was so angry that he kept stamping his feet and cursing the demonic poison dragon for being a poor dragon. The dragon clan has two characteristics, lust and wealth. Their lust is reflected in their willingness to attack any race. Therefore, there are many sub-dragons and hybrids with dragon blood on the mainland. As for good wealth, it is reflected in the fact that most dragons like to collect treasures, so it is not unreasonable for brave men to like to slay dragons. As long as the dragon is killed, reputation will not be mentioned for the time being. The captured princess beautiful woman will be there, and the treasure collected by the dragon will be there. Fame, beauty, and wealth will directly lead to a grand slam in life. Slaying a dragon will directly save 30 years of detours in life. No wonder so many people like to be a brave dragon slayer. Although the demonic poison dragon is a sub-dragon, it is still a well-known existence in the ranks of sub-dragons. Yi Cheng doesn't care about reputation. After all, he doesn't value this thing. As for beauty, the elf girl before was definitely a beauty, but it was a pity that Yi Cheng didn't have the tsunere attribute, and he actually preferred pineapples or honeydews to apples, so when Kui left, he didn't do much to retain. But Yi Cheng only cares about wealth, and he also knows that dragons like to collect treasures. But when he and Shima Yosake came to the demonic poison dragon's lair, Yi Cheng was dumbfounded when he saw the few rags on the ground. How the hell could this be considered a treasure collected by the dragon? Not to mention that the things on the ground were cleaner than his trouser pockets, but this majestic sub-dragon boss was actually poorer than the ice python in the underground maze. Bah, what a bullshit poisonous dragon. The name is really awesome, but the result is really embarrassing to the dragon clan. This little property is not as good as others collecting rags. I knew that guy was so good, and his collection shouldn't be anything special, but I didn't expect him to be so poor. Quote. Looking at the tatters left by Kui in the demonic poison dragon's lair, Yi Cheng spat directly on the ground, expressing his strong disdain for the demonic poison dragon. He is a good sub-dragon boss. He doesn't go out to steal gold and silver treasures and princesses, but just does his business in a few small villages. It can be seen that this poisonous dragon is probably a complete loser among the dragon clan. And this actually indirectly led to one of the main reasons why Night City would abandon the corpse of the poisonous dragon in the future. Because the Devil's Poison Dragon's lair was completely empty, Yi Cheng thought that the Devil's Poison Dragon was probably just a hanging wire from the dragon clan. Even if he tried to pull its corpse back, it would not be sold for much money, so he finally chose to collect some that looked more expensive materials and discard the rest directly. Of course, what I just said is all part of the previous story. The point is that Suijun is the princess of the elven royal family, but it's just that the two fools from another world, Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake, don't know her. As an elf princess, and also a girl with the arrogant attribute Max, not only was she looked down upon by Yi Cheng, but she was also ridiculed by Yi Cheng, so Kui was naturally angry. The long sword that had been put away before was once again taken out by Kui from her holding magic, and struck at the location of Yi City with lightning speed. Holy crap, are you crazy, Kui? Wasn't the misunderstanding just explained? Yi Cheng split the Kui slash, and a few strands of white hair blew down in the wind. When he looked at the long sword embedded deeply in the ground, and a sword mark extending several meters forward, Yi Cheng also swallowed hard. Drooled. Although he didn't know why, Yi Cheng could clearly feel that Kui's fighting power seemed to be much stronger now than when he fought the demonic poison dragon before. Obviously she didn't take any special medicine or use magic, but Yi Cheng felt inexplicably that Kui was quite dangerous now. It's a pity that what Yi Cheng doesn't know is that there are two major taboos for women in general. The first is age, and the second is body weight, and those who are so stubborn, Yi Cheng's words just now have obviously stepped on all the minefields. All over the place, he can be called the king of dance in the minefield. After all, she is an elf princess. Although her figure is not plump, she is still good at it, and she is definitely not unattractive, as Yi Cheng said. As for age, a guy from Yi City who has lived in the Soul Society for nearly 100 years has the nerve to despise others for being old and say that he is a sunny and cheerful boy. The sharp sword light flew past Yi Cheng's body and even cut off a few strands of Yi Cheng's white hair. Kui was quite angry at this moment. Ever since she left the elves, she has always been known as a beauty even in this different world with extremely average looks. But now, not only was she seen out, but the guy who took advantage of her actually disliked her for being old and having an unattractive figure. Are you crazy? Didn't I say that I didn't see anything? Do I have to say that I saw everything to avoid being chopped down? And this is in a house. If we keep messing around like this, we won't even have a place to live. Quote. Facing the elf girl's sharp sword attack, Yi Cheng could only dodge left and right, and tried to persuade the other party to calm down with words. However, what left Yi Cheng speechless was that it seemed that no matter what he said, the girl could not calm down at all, and her state of emotional rage seemed to be getting more and more serious. He said he didn't see anything, and then he was chopped down. But now he changed his story and said that he saw everything, but he was chopped even worse. The house that Sonia rented to them was not small, but it could not withstand Kui's torment. Although Yi Cheng easily dodged the sharp slashes, the surrounding floors, ceilings, and furniture suffered. Based on the idea of justifying the loss and looking at welfare, Yi Cheng has been making concessions to the angry Kui, but seeing that Kui is now in a state of wanting to tear down the family, Yi Cheng cannot calm down. That's right, he had just made a small fortune in Yecheng, but he wasn't a rich man at all. Sonia's house was not cheap by any means. If it was really demolished by Kui, as one of the tenants, there would be the initiator of this situation must bear half of the responsibility. If you keep being so aggressive, then I won't be polite. Yi Cheng did not choose to draw his sword, because the swordsmanship he was good at was all for fighting. Once he took action against the elf girl Kui, the best result would be to be injured. There was no enmity between him and Kui, and it was indeed his fault that he was responsible for, so Yi Cheng was naturally even more unlikely to draw a sword against him. If the god of death's slashing fist can't be used to kill the ghost, then he can only use other methods to calm down the elf girl in front of him. Although it was good to fight in vain, the space in the room was so small that Yi Cheng couldn't use it at all. Shunpo can only be used to run and dodge, so the only thing left is Kido. Yi Cheng didn't know why, but using Kido in this different world, after the spiritual pressure was converted into magic power, the power seemed to become even more amazing. He had fully realized this in the previous battles. Therefore, under the current situation, Yecheng does not dare to use the broken path casually, because if one fails, the house will be blown up faster. There is light in this world, with spirits as chains and souls as chains. All things bound are sin. The 63 of the Tao of Binding Chain Binding. Quote. While Yi Cheng used Shunpo to avoid Kui's attacks, he chanted spells quickly in his mouth. Zai Kui realized that something was wrong, holding the long sword in one hand and stretching out the other hand in front of him. Also when preparing to use magic. However, a luminous chain had already shot out from Yi Cheng's hand, and wrapped around Kui's wrist at an extremely fast speed, lifting her arm up. Looking at the luminous chains wrapped around her wrist, Kui almost didn't even think about it, and prepared to use the long sword in her right hand to cut off the chains on her left wrist. However, before she could take action, more golden chains suddenly came out from all directions. And this time, the chain not only wrapped around her left hand, but also wrapped around her limbs and waist, even lifting her body directly into the air. Looking at the luminous chains that bound her, Kui also tried to use magic to break free. However, what surprised her was that the seemingly extremely fragile chains showed no signs of loosening no matter how she tried to break free. Moreover, Kui had never seen the chain magic used by Yi Cheng before, and she could not even tell what kind of magic it was. Su Kui Luki, Miss Kui, don't waste your efforts. I fully chanted the number 63 binding path. Even the poisonous dragon we encountered before, it is not easy to break free, thing. Even if you use magic power, it is impossible to break away from these chains in a short time. I don't want to use strong ones, I just hope. At this moment, the elf girl was hung in the air by chains in Yi City. Her limbs were still swinging in an attempt to break free from Yi City's chains. However, Yi City originally wanted to persuade the girl, but at this moment, he suddenly felt someone behind him. There were several glances. Although Sonia's house is located far away from the neighborhood, there are no other residents around it. Yi Cheng and Kui made so much noise before, and other people around are naturally curious about what happened. Because the door had not been closed in time before, at the entrance, several aunts who looked obviously idle looked curiously at Yi Cheng and Kui in the room. When Yi Cheng looked at them, these aunts did not panic at all. They just covered their mouths in embarrassment and said, "I'm sorry, it's us who disturbed you. We were worried about what happened just now. You can continue now." That's right, that's right. We were just passing by. We thought this house had been broken into just now, and we wanted to help you find the patrolling guards. After hearing what these aunts said, Kui, who was hanging in the air by Yi Cheng with an angry look on his face, turned a bright red color at an extremely fast speed, and he quickly defended himself. "Things are not what you think. Yes, we all understand. Auntie has been there too. We can understand that young people want to have a little more excitement. But I also hope that you will consider the other residents around you. Even if it is still broad daylight, I hope that you can control the noise when playing and at least close the door." Quote. At the beginning, Yi Cheng was still confused about Kui's conversation with these aunts. However, when he cleared his mind and looked at Kui, who was only wrapped in a bath towel and was hanging in the air, there was also a long sword snatched from Kui in one hand, and the other part of the chain in the other hand. Yi Cheng then understood what these aunties just meant. "Aunties, things are really not what you think. I have only met this elf once, so things are not." Yi Cheng wanted to explain, but these aunts didn't give him the chance at all. Not only did they give him a, "we all understand," look, but before leaving, they closed the door for Yi Cheng and the others with great kindness. Tisk, 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 today's young man is really amazing. When I was young, I thought I was bold enough, but I didn't expect that today's young man is even more unrestrained than I used to be. Who says it isn't? I thought no one lived in this house before. After all, no one is home every 2 days. Who would have known that the residents are such a talented and beautiful young couple? Yes, the handsome young man just now said that it was the second time he saw the elf girl. This was obviously part of a role-playing game. Although these aunts started talking quietly after closing the door, they ignored it. Even though they were separated by a door and they controlled the volume, what they said in the end was still wordless. All the mistakes were heard by Yi Cheng and Kui. For ordinary people, their comments are indeed appropriate and beneficial, but the point of the problem is that the man and woman in the room are not ordinary people at all. One has super strong swordsmanship and 5 senses that have long surpassed those of ordinary people. The other is an elf and has a body structure that is different from ordinary people. Therefore, the gossips these aunts just said have naturally entered the night city verbatim. In Kui's ears. "That Miss Kui, you saw everything that just happened. As one of the parties involved, you also know that you can't blame me for this, right? Being misunderstood as a young couple who likes to play exciting games is not a big deal to Yi Cheng. Anyway, he has never cared much about fame. Rather, he has always believed that if a person wants to live a free and unrestrained life, his bad reputation will always win over his good reputation. But he doesn't care, but that doesn't mean that the elf girl doesn't care either. He just complained about the other party before, and Kui had already used the sword to open a few holes in his body. In the current situation, wouldn't the other party want to risk his life directly with him? Put me down quickly. You promise me first that after I help you put it down, you can speak calmly and you won't hit me with a sword again." It was beyond Yi Cheng's expectation. He originally thought that after hearing the comments made by the aunts just now, Kui would suddenly become furious because his reputation was affected. However, he did not expect that the other party's reaction was surprisingly calm. Although Yi Cheng didn't know whether this was a sign before the storm or Kuijun didn't take such rumors to heart, he finally slowly loosened the chain. Because it is not a problem to keep each other hanging in the air like this, and their current scene is full of a sense of instant vision. It is no wonder that people who see this scene will misunderstand. The glowing chains were slowly released, and the pretty figure landed lightly on the ground. Wow! However, the moment Kui's bare feet landed on the floor, the accident happened again. As I said before, Kui was only wearing a bath towel because she couldn't take a bath just now. Because of the fight just now, this bath towel was already a little loose. Just when it fell from the sky, the updraft formed by gravity and the acceleration of the fall completely released the last bit of binding force of this bath towel. Night City. As soon as the bath towel slipped off, the ultimate snow scene came into view again in Yi City, and it began to sway as if it was swaying in the wind. As Kui felt a chill on her body and realized what had happened, her calm mood was now filled with shame and anger again. First, he glanced at the dull Yi Cheng with extremely embarrassed eyes, and then pulled out another long sword from the storage space. Binding down number 63. Chain binding. Before Kui could take action, Yi Cheng, who had been prepared this time, once again threw out a large number of luminous chains. The orange-haired elf girl was hoisted into the air again, and the scene this time was obviously much worse than the last time. You must know that before, Kui still had a bath towel on her body. The scene was just tempting at best, but now. Pervert, a lustful maniac, if you still dare to look at it, I will definitely poke your eyes out when I get down. The elf girl who was hanging in the air saw that she was hanging in the air again and was unable to escape, so she started a fierce verbal offensive. She was a majestic elf princess, and the humiliation she had suffered since she was born was even more humiliating than what she had suffered on this day. After hearing the elf girl's constant shouting, Yi Cheng was also worried that some strange people would be attracted by Kui's voice, so he stretched out his index finger and used Kido again. One of the binding paths, Sai. Kui, who was still cursing, was quickly blocked by his spiritual pressure, and Yi Cheng also picked up the bath towel on the ground and covered his body under his embarrassed look. Of course, after completing this series of work, there are at least several gigabytes of high-quality CG pictures on the hard drive of Yechung brain. Miss Kui, you saw what happened just now. All of this is a force majeure situation. I know very well that you suffered the loss, but it is not my fault. If you want to blame it, you can only blame Shichen and the world. Everything is their fault. I can't beat you if I hit you. Instead of causing more accidents due to disputes, we should solve the problem calmly. What do you think? Quote. After explaining the situation in a gentle voice and waiting for the elf girl to calm down a little, Yi Cheng finally let Kui down again. In order to avoid accidents, Yi Cheng only released his ghost path when he got outside the door this time. It's ready, come in. Hearing the sound coming from the room, Yi Cheng took a deep breath again and pushed the door open. What caught his eye was Kui, who had already changed into a pair of silk pajamas. At this moment, the other party has his arms folded across his chest, and his slender figure is enough to make people think through the gauze. However, Yi Cheng stopped thinking about the elf girl in front of him. He had already read everything he should see and what he didn't dare to see. How do you plan to solve this matter, perverted Mr. Yi Cheng? Kui's mood has calmed down, but the other party is obviously still in a state of resentment about what happened just now. No, it should be said that it is normal for the other party to be in a state of grudge. After all, it would be quite outrageous for the other party not to take it to heart at all if a young girl in her prime was looked down upon like that. Miss Kui, you just saw it. It was all an accident, so you're going to pretend you don't know anything and play with a girl's feelings like this? Hearing Yi Cheng's answer, Kui's right hand had already penetrated deep into the mustard space, as if looking for someone who could take advantage of him, so that he could blow it up later. Then what should I do? Even if I want to take responsibility, you still look down on me. You thought I was a pervert before, so why not just have a misunderstanding on the spot? Before Yi Cheng finished speaking, Kui had already taken out a large bag of gold coins from his storage space. I want you to be my husband. When she said this sentence, Kui's tone was almost completely trembling and intermittent because of her strong sense of shame. Night City, winking face. After hearing what Kui said clearly and understanding the meaning, Yi Cheng looked at the elf girl in front of him with a shocked expression. He had thought of many ways the girl would punish him, but this situation was something that Yi Cheng had never thought of in his head. What kind of punishment is this? It's just a reward, right? To be honest, Kui's appearance is really impeccable. Even in this other world where the average appearance level is very high, so far, Yi City has never seen a girl who is more beautiful than Kui. And such a beautiful elf girl now dares to show off for nothing. Is this really not a different world? Why is this plot so outrageous? If I agree, will I be able to achieve racial integration soon and directly enter paid content? After all, an episode lasts for more than 20 minutes. If you count it from beginning to end, it will be less than 20 minutes. Yi Cheng is very confident in his ability and feels that 20 minutes is not enough to end the battle. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this because I like you, but our appearance has been seen by the aunts nearby. They also thought that we were in a relationship as husband and wife, so now it was all just for practice to show them. Well, that's right, that's what happened, so don't think too much about it. I am a male of the elf clan, a pure girl, how could I fall in love with a pervert like you? Quote. Looking at Yi Cheng, who was silent because of his thoughts, the elf girl quickly defended her previous words with a red face. As for her defense, Yi Cheng, who is a straight man, believed it instantly, and said with a clear face, I see, because of the previous misunderstanding, did it have a negative impact on your credibility? Indeed, if the relationship is not between husband and wife, if the female party does such a thing, she will definitely be considered a shameless woman. The elves cherish their reputation very much, so it is reasonable to do so. After hearing Yi Cheng's perfect explanation and justification, Kui's face was speechless at this moment. She has never been in love, but she also knows that ordinary human men should not have such an attitude when faced with the embrace of a beautiful elf girl like herself. Now there is a beautiful elf girl who wants to be your wife. Shouldn't you find a way to make this a reality? Why do you look so sober in the world now? Miss Kui, please don't worry. Although it is a misunderstanding, I am still partially responsible for this matter, so I will play the role of husband well next. As for remuneration, forget it. Although I like money, I still have basic professional ethics. Until Miss Kui wants to move, or thinks that this relationship no longer needs to be maintained, I will fully cooperate with you. Quote. Looking at the large bag of gold coins in front of Kui, Yi Cheng estimated that there must be at least hundreds of gold coins in it, and this also made him more convinced that the other party was a rich woman. However, for such a reward, Yi Cheng finally resisted the strong reluctance in his heart and refused. The other party had already feasted his eyes on him before. He had received so much welfare, and now he was still taking other people's money. It was really too much. And if he even took this money, wouldn't he become that kind of person in Yecheng? In short, it is true that he likes money, but at least his moral integrity cannot be lost. HMPH, whatever you want, anyway, since you agree to my request, we will regard ourselves as husband and wife outside. And now that you have a young and beautiful wife like me, you can no longer provoke other women. Quote. Seeing that Yi Cheng refused to accept her reward, the corners of Kui's lips slightly raised inadvertently, and then she added a few notes. Ah, isn't pretending to be a couple only for those obasans who live nearby? Why do you have to pretend to be a couple when you go outside? Others don't know what happened just now. And the requirement of not flirting with girls. Not having contact with other women is too much. How can I be single? Originally, I was thinking that now that I'm in another world, I should at least marry a beautiful girl from another world. Quote. Hearing Kui's additional matters, Yi Cheng naturally raised his hands in protest. He had agreed so readily before simply because he thought their role-playing game was limited to this family. After all, he is an adventurer, while Kui needs to travel all over the world in search of ancient relics. They are homeless for 3 days, and they may not be able to come back even once in 10.5 months, and the probability of meeting each other is even lower. It is also because of this that Yi Cheng has no objection to such husband and wife role-playing. But now it seems that Kui's pretending game is obviously not as simple as he imagined. Humph, anyway, you have promised me before, so I will naturally decide the rules. Moreover, those aunts before were obviously gossips. Can you guarantee that what they just saw will not be told outside? And since they are a couple, it would be strange for them to act alone. They are not fools. If they act in that way, others will quickly see the problem. As an adventurer, you just want to make money, but I am not interested in money or anything at all. My purpose is just to collect ancient relics lost all over the world, so our purposes do not conflict. If you form a team and act together, I can help you complete the adventurer's request. As for the reward, I don't need a penny. On the other hand, if you discover any news about ancient relics, you must do your best to help me. I won't even let you work in vain, and I can also pay you a certain amount of remuneration. Quote. Yi Cheng was finally convinced by Kui because the conditions proposed by the other party were too generous. Night City does not exclude team action, and Kui's strength is indeed good, so why not have more free thugs? On the contrary, if he comes across information about ancient relics and helps, he can actually earn extra money. Where can he find such a good job? The only fly in the ointment that makes Yi Cheng feel that even when acting in a team, Yi Cheng has to maintain the previous agreement with Kui and play the role of husband and wife, and Yi Cheng cannot flirt with girls at will, because Kui means that they are elves. It's monogamous. Chapter 41. Yi Cheng didn't know whether the elves were truly monogamous. However, when Yi Cheng and Kui came to the Adventurers Guild together the next day, Sonia was obviously quite surprised. As a tenant of her own house, Suoya naturally knew Kui, but what she didn't expect was that Yi Cheng and Kui came here together, and judging from the appearance of the two of them, they seemed to have known each other before. Yecheng, have you known Miss Sequi Lucia Zager Runalulia Aglan Zelga Elgar before? When he heard Sonia pronounce the elf girl Kui's name completely without taking a breath, Yi Cheng's expression was quite admiring, and he sighed that the other party was worthy of being a young lady in the service industry. Kui's name was so ridiculously long that even if he read it to him with a note, he might have to bite his tongue, but Sonia could read it directly without any hindrance. Miss Sonia, do you still remember what I told you before, the elf girl I met while defeating the poisonous dragon? I see, that person is Miss Sutriru Kirazager Runal Rulea Aglan Zelga Elgar. I never thought there would be such a coincidence. So why are you here today to receive the commission? But as far as I know, Sukalu Calais. Miss Kui is not an adventurer. Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, Sonia breathed a sigh of relief silently, and then looked at the two of them with a professional smile. I am the only one who accepted the commission. As for her, she was just brought along because we entered into an engagement yesterday. As a couple, we naturally have to act together. Sonia, who was originally looking at Yi Cheng and Kui with a smile on her face, suddenly lost her expression when she heard what Kui said. Married couple. Yi Cheng could clearly see that although the receptionist's expression was still wearing a professional smile, this smile now looked much more scary than before. And at this moment, Sonia not only felt a layer of low pressure inexplicably, but even the registration pen she held in her hand was broken by force at this moment. Miss Suoya, don't listen to her nonsense. Due to some force majeure reasons, Kui and I have reached a certain agreement, so now if we are outside, we must act as husband and wife. This relationship between husband and wife is not real, it is just a role-playing relationship. Quote. Although Yi Cheng didn't understand why Sun Ya's reaction was so violent just now, his strong intuition told him that if he didn't explain it quickly, it would be difficult for him to enjoy the special benefits from his little sister in the future. I see, Miss Kui really loves to joke. I just said that Brother Yecheng just came to town not long ago. And when he registered as an adventurer, he obviously told me that he didn't know anyone else here and that I should be the first woman he knew. How could a fiancé suddenly appear? Quote. After hearing Yi Cheng's explanation, Sonia's expression suddenly turned from cloudy to cloudy, and the expression she looked at the elf girl Kui at this moment also showed some hostility. As the receptionist of the Adventurers Guild, Sonia's speaking skills are obviously quite advanced. Those two sentences just sounded fine, but Kui, who was targeted, had already heard a lot of things. Sonia expressed both inside and outside her words that she was the young woman who met Yi Cheng first, and that she, Kui, only appeared later. And in her words, Sonia specifically used the title, Brother Yi Cheng, to show her closeness to Yi Cheng, as if to give Kui a blow. Facing Sonia's attack, Kui showed no sign of weakness. She walked to Yi Cheng's side calmly, and then naturally took Yi Cheng's arm. Hey, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly hug her? Yi Cheng was a little confused about Kui's sudden move. I'm just fulfilling the agreement between us. You just need to watch quietly in Yecheng. Crack. Sun Ya, who had just switched to another pen to work with, now had the second pen in her hand broken. Alas, the guild has purchased enough pens recently, but the quality is really poor. Speaking of Miss Kui, since you and Brother Yecheng are just pretending to be husband and wife, don't you think your current behavior is a bit over the line? And in my opinion, although Miss Kui's appearance is impeccable, it is still too much for you to make this action. Brother Yecheng's arm should be so bruised by the bones now. Quote. Seeing Kui's actions, Sonia's expression turned ugly for a while, then she quickly adjusted her emotions and made a counterattack, looking at Kui's chest with a mocking expression. Later, After showing a look of regret, Sonia put down the pen in her hand and made a gesture of crossing her chest with both hands. As the doorkeeper of the Adventurers Guild, Sonia originally had an extremely proud bust. Now, after making an action like crossing her arms with her chest, her already outstanding features have naturally become more prominent now. Kui lowered his head and glanced at the pair of B on his chest, and then turned his head to look at Sonia's stalwart figure, which was at least D level. At this moment, her face suddenly turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Especially when she saw Yi Cheng's gaze and was inevitably attracted to Sonia, Kui was so angry that she stepped on Yi Cheng. Yi Cheng, who was still watching the game in a civilized manner, felt a pain in his feet, and then realized that Kui was staring at him with a vicious look. It's just 2 lumps of fat, what's so big about it? To be honest, in terms of appearance, although Sonia is the doorkeeper of the Adventurers Guild, she is still a little inferior to Kui. The elves are known for their beauty, and Kui's appearance is one of the most beautiful even among the elves. This is proven by the many glances that lingered on her when she entered the Adventurers Guild. This is it. However, her appearance is impeccable, but in terms of figure, Kui can't beat Sonia. Since ancient times, tsundere girls have either been Lolita or flat-chested. My fellow otakus will not deceive me. Kui, who possesses tsundere attributes, has obviously lost all her attribute points to special attributes, so that her body development is obviously unable to keep up. Looking at Kui's foot stepping on him, and then looking at the broken third office pen on the counter, no matter how slow Yi Cheng is, he still doesn't know at this moment that he has fallen into the so-called tragic Shira field. Although he himself didn't know why Kui and Sonia, who were not close to him, suddenly entered the Shira field, but considering the tense atmosphere around them, he directly told Yi Cheng that if he didn't get out as soon as possible, I will definitely not have any good fruit from him later. Yi City, have you ever considered choosing an Adventurers Guild in another town to accept the commission? I know that the Adventurers Guild in one town is larger than the Adventurers Guild in Mag Town, and the missions there are more advanced. Quote. On a small road in the suburbs, Kui was walking side by side with Yi Cheng. While teaching Yi Cheng the so-called secrets of the elf royal family, which was Kui's previous storage magic that could pull weapons and props out of the void at will, he also brought some private information with him. The guy asked Yi Cheng if he had any thoughts of changing jobs. The reason why Kui had such an idea was because she met a troublesome person in the Adventurers Guild, namely Sonia, the receptionist of the Adventurers Guild. The other party is not only good-looking, but also has a hot figure. The most important thing is that she can have love, and has the aura of the first woman I know in Yecheng, so Sonia's existence makes Kui feel quite uneasy. A few dozen minutes ago, when the competition between Kui and Sonia became more and more intense, Yi Cheng, who had a strong desire for survival, decisively selected a commission on the taskbar and ran away decisively. One is the first woman he met in another world, and she takes good care of him. The other is his roommate and fake fiancé. It stands to reason that it should be impossible for 2 people like this to form a Shira field. I don't know if it is the competitive psychology of outstanding women or other reasons. But Night City's intuition told him that as a man in the center of such a storm, the final outcome would definitely not be good. Therefore, he was very sensitive to crises and immediately chose to run away. Without Yi Cheng as a target to be jealous of, Kui and Sonia would naturally not be able to fight each other in the Shira field. Before leaving, Kui didn't forget to hit back at Sonia again. It doesn't matter if you know him before me. I can always stay with him, but can you? After leaving such words, Kui also walked out of the Adventurers Guild, and when she walked out of the door, she clearly heard the sound of the counter collapsing. However, although Kui is very proud on the surface, she is actually a little unconfident in her heart. On the one hand, Sonia is too strong a competitor, and on the other hand, Yi Cheng is too stupid. That's right, Kui actually developed a certain amount of admiration for Yi Cheng when she was rescued from the poisonous dragon by Yi Cheng. Otherwise, how could she, an elf princess, compromise so easily after being exposed, and even said that she would pretend to be a couple with Yi Cheng? Just kidding, no matter how you look at it, when it comes to pretending to be a couple, the woman suffers more. Kui would make such a suggestion, which is already a hint. However, the straight man Yi Cheng didn't notice her hint at all, and always thought it was a measure she took to protect her reputation, which left Kui quite speechless. However, even though she has been pulled down, Kui has not given up because of this, and has even prepared for a long-term battle. Pretending to be a couple is one of her plans. Now they not only live under the same roof, but even go on adventures together. Kui believes that even if she stays in Yecheng any longer, she will definitely find her true love one day. It's just that Kui didn't expect that a powerful enemy like Sonia would suddenly appear before her plan started to unfold. Therefore, excluding this powerful opponent, Kui would propose to Yecheng like this at this moment. Mag Town is very good, and with Miss Sonia's special care, we can always receive high-level missions with extremely high rewards, so why go to other towns? And I have just settled in Mag Town not long ago. If we want to move, we don't need to fulfill our previous agreement. Quote. Hearing what Yecheng said, Kui was obviously stunned for a moment, and at the same time she realized that if she wanted to get rid of Sonia, her formidable enemy, her current contractual relationship with Yecheng would not be sustainable. Because according to their previous agreement, there is no limit to the time for the two to pretend to be a couple, but until Kui thinks that the relationship can be terminated or they move to other places. The excuse Kui made before was to maintain her reputation in this town, but now that she is leaving Mag Town, such an excuse can no longer be established. Compared to those unimportant things, you should look at this task delegation first. Because I was in a hurry just now, I randomly picked out a document in front of Miss Sonia and ran away, but now it seems that this task seems to be quite tricky and troublesome. Mag Town, Adventurers Guild, Guild Leader's Room. The guild president was happily exchanging life stories with his little secretary. He originally thought that his mother-in-law was on duty, but he instantly adjusted his clothes with extremely skillful and fast movements, and pushed away the little secretary in front of him. At the same time, a beautiful figure from outside also pushed in the door, but what surprised the president was that the person who came in was not the tough woman who was checking the post, but the guild's doorkeeper Sonia. If it were a staff member of another guild, the guild president would probably be furious at this moment. However, if the other party is Sonia, then there is nothing you can do. As the doorkeeper of the Adventurers Guild, Sonia is also one of the most beautiful women in the entire Mag Town. To put it bluntly, at least 80% of the adventurers in the Adventurers Guild regard Sonia as the lover of their dreams. Without Sonia, their guild's performance will definitely suffer a loss of more than 30%. At this moment, the guild president did not blame Sonia too much, but just reminded her to wait for a response from the house before opening the door. Guild president, those things don't matter anymore. I'm resigning from you. I plan to quit my job as a guild usher and go back to being an adventurer. Before Sonia became the guild's usher, she was actually an adventurer, and she was quite famous. After hearing Kui's words before, Sonia obviously realized the seriousness of the matter, so after smashing the guild counter under the stunned eyes of the melon-eating adventurers in the hall, Sonia ran upstairs. Resigned. Why do you suddenly want to resign? Did you suffer any unfair treatment in the guild? Sonia, you can just tell me that it was that fool who bullied you, and see if I don't break his legs. Quote. Hearing that Sonia was resigning, the guild president couldn't calm down. As he said before, Sonia at least brought more than 30% performance bonus to the guild. Sonia resigned. Where did he go to find such an excellent and beautiful door panel? Sonia, as someone who has been through this, if I were you, I would not choose to resign at this time to become an adventurer. You should have seen how strong Brother Yecheng is. According to what you said, that elf girl should also be quite strong. So do you think that with your own strength, even if you go back to being an adventurer, you can integrate into their team? Quote. After hearing the words of the guild president, Sonia fell silent. Yecheng and Kui were strong men who could defeat the poisonous dragon. Although she thought she had some strength, even if she joined them, she would be a complete hindrance. So if you really want to help Brother Yecheng, your current job is the most suitable. If you quit this job, then you really won't even have the last bit of communication. By the way, speaking of work, did you hand over the difficult commission you received last time to the headquarters? Quote. After a short period of thinking, Sonia, who was about to resign, was finally persuaded by the guild president. President, the entrustment document that was originally intended to be forwarded to the headquarters has disappeared. It was clearly still here just now. Could it be that? When the Adventurers Guild accepts a commission, it will generally not refuse it because the difficulty of the commission is too high, because that will affect the reputation of the Adventurers Guild. Once a commission is received that exceeds its capabilities, the local branch will choose to hand it over to the headquarters, allowing the headquarters to send more adventurers to complete the task. This time, the guild in Magtown also received a commission beyond its capabilities. Originally, Sonia was going to forward the commission to the headquarters according to the instructions of the guild president. But when she came downstairs again, Sonia found that the document could no longer be found. Then she recalled that when she and Kui Zhengfeng were jealous, Yi Cheng seemed to have taken something from the counter. As for the suburbs on the other side at this moment, Kui looked at the document in Yi Cheng's hand with a strange expression. Expel or defeat the legendary dragon, demonic flame dragon. When she saw the commission task in Yi Cheng's hands, Kui also fell silent. A second ago, she was saying that the tasks in Magtown were not high-level tasks. After all, the level of adventurers was there. But what she didn't expect was that slaps in the face would happen so quickly. Looking at the entire continent, not many people in the entire continent would dare to take on the task that Yi Cheng was currently holding. The demonic poison dragon and the demonic flame dragon are both giant dragons, but in terms of strength and magic power, the demonic poison dragon is much inferior to the demonic flame dragon. That's right, although they are all powerful dragons, the demonic flame dragon has been raging on the mainland for many years. The time of its birth and its strength are not even a bit more powerful than the demonic poison dragon. Generally speaking, to defeat this legendary creature, one cannot rely on the power of one or two people. Because the giant dragon is originally at the top of the biological chain, and the demonic flame dragon is the best among them, there is no human being in this world who can fight with it alone and win. Yecheng, this mission is a bit dangerous for us. How about we go back and change? As an elf princess who dares to challenge the demonic poison dragon, Kui is quite proud and has a certain degree of confidence in her own strength. However, the previous demonic poison dragon directly taught her a lesson. Now that she saw Yi Cheng's task of defeating the demonic flame dragon, she naturally hoped that Yi Cheng would be more cautious. This giant dragon called the demonic flame dragon is a pretty awesome being. Yi Cheng has not been in this different world for a long time. He has never heard of the demonic poison dragon or the demonic flame dragon. But he could still understand the many zeros after the entrustment reward column. This time was different from the previous crusade against the demonic poison dragon. Not only did the client unreservedly explain the danger and power of the demonic flame dragon, but he also generously offered a huge reward. Isn't this nonsense? The demon flame dragon is a giant dragon that has lived for countless years. It has even left many legends on this continent. It is a powerful existence that is called a disaster in the story. Kui rolled her eyes at a certain money fan and educated him on the power of the demonic flame dragon. To put it bluntly, before gods, demon kings and heroes appeared, the demonic flame dragon was the top monster in the world. How does it compare to the previous demonic poison dragon? The strength of this demonic flame dragon. No matter how much Kui and Yi Cheng learned about science, Yi Cheng, who had little understanding of the world, still had no idea about the strength of the strongest monster, so he had no choice but to take out the poisonous dragon he had encountered before and use it in battle. Force measurement units were compared. In terms of race and bloodline, the demonic poison dragon and the demonic flame dragon should both be powerful dragons. But the demonic flame dragon has been on the mainland much longer than the demonic flame dragon, so in terms of strength, the demonic poison dragon should be far from being a match for the demonic flame dragon. Quote, although the previous demonic poison dragon was defeated by Yi Cheng, he felt that the strength of that giant dragon was already quite impressive, and in the world of death, it would at least be at the level of Daxu. And according to what Kui said, the demonic flame dragon is actually much stronger than the demonic poison dragon. Is that the level of Akukas or Vastad? This level of strength is at the level of the Death Vice Captain and Death Captain in the Death God world, so at this moment, Yi Cheng is hesitant to complete this mission. If he had the Zanpakudo in hand now and could perform the first release, he would be worthy of the so-called demonic flame dragon. But the point of the problem now is that he is only one of the clones of the Bankai, and the Zanpakudo is in his own hands in the Shinigami world. No matter, let's go to this village first. Didn't it say above that if the adventurer accepts this request, he can learn how to defeat the demonic flame dragon from the villagers? From Yi Cheng's point of view, the adventurer commissions in this world are really similar to the missions in the game. The clues to defeat the demonic flame dragon provided in the commission are obviously side tasks for players to upgrade or obtain artifacts and equipment. According to the information provided by the commission, Yi Cheng and Kui finally arrived at a strange village after 2 days of traveling. And in this village, Yi Cheng and Kui once again met an acquaintance with a half-orc face and thick glasses. He looked like he was in his 30s, but was actually only 17 years old. I really can run into you everywhere, Shima Yosake. I knew you wouldn't be killed that easily. However, you still don't seem to have a long memory of your previous encounters. What are you going to do to help the village this time? Quote. After only a few days of absence, Yi Cheng found that although there was no obvious change in Shima Yosake's appearance, he could clearly feel that the old man's face in front of him had become stronger again. Even for the so-called son of the world, such a cheating that goes against common sense is really unreasonable. Obviously about a week ago, that is, after defeating the demonic poison dragon, when Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake parted ways, Shima Yosake only gave him the impression that he was quite powerful. But when he met the other party again this time, the feeling Shima Yosake gave him made him feel faintly dangerous. Just 1 week has passed, and the opponent's strength has increased exponentially again. You must know that half a month ago, Shima Yosake was just a young boy who could only stick his butt out and turn his back to 3 big adventurers. But now only half a month has passed, and the opponent's strength has skyrocketed to the point where even Yi City now feels dangerous. Everyone is a time traveler, and they all have cheats, but Yi Cheng now feels that when he compares himself with Shima Yosake, except for his appearance, which can beat Shima Yosake, his treatment in other aspects of the world is not as good as Shima Yosake. Yosake is completely incomparable. Excluding the Zanpakudo's bonus, even if he relied on Bai Dao, Kido and his own level of spiritual pressure, Yashura felt that with his current self, he would still have no problem defeating some deputy captains in the Shinigami world. Because he found that this different world was very similar to the game. After killing some monsters and completing the commission, Yi Cheng could feel his spiritual pressure, magic power getting stronger every moment, as if it's the same as what's called upgrading in the game. Originally, Yi Cheng was quite happy about this. In the world of death, his strength has entered a certain bottleneck period. Even though he was not born into a noble family and had no special bloodline, he was just an ordinary soul in Rukongai. It is undeniable that people's talents are innate, and some things cannot be changed through hard work. At the beginning, Yi Cheng in the world of death could quickly become stronger with the prophetic benefits of the traveler, but that body still had so-called limits. As early as a few years ago, Yi Cheng discovered that the increase in his spiritual pressure had slowed down. Even with continuous devil training, the improvement he could obtain was quite limited. He is not an orange-haired boy carrying a butcher's knife on his back. He has the 3 major bloodlines of Death, Hollow, and Quincy. He can be called a real humanoid self-propelled device. Wherever people go, third-party illegal software will be opened. The Shiji, that most Shinigami mastered with great difficulty, and the swastika, that Chuji may not be able to master in his lifetime, have almost become an operation that can be done with just one hand for a boy with a butcher knife. If there are no plugins, if you want to successfully achieve swastika in Night City in the world of death, it should belong to the Lifetime series. But referring to other clone-style novels and comics, the Night City in this world has seen hope again. If they, who are clones in all realms, have reached certain conditions and can achieve power sharing, then they must not directly stay where they are, take off. When thinking about this before, Yi Cheng would feel silly and happy from time to time, and thought that he was indeed the real protagonist. However, when he saw Shima Yosake again now, Yi Cheng suddenly felt that the godlike true protagonist was really nothing compared to the world's biological son. It only took half a month for the opponent to complete the leap from a good-for-nothing boy to the level of deputy captain of death. This was even more outrageous than the boy with a butcher knife in their death world. Even those useless counterattack novels don't dare to write like this. Yecheng, why are you here? Are you here to fight the boss because you heard that a giant demonic flame dragon is planning to attack this village? When Yi Cheng and Sui came to this village, the villagers who were still chatting with Shima Yosake instantly abandoned Shima Yosake and ran to Yi Cheng and the others. And under his shout, most people in the village also walked out of the house and gathered towards Yi Cheng and Sui, leaving Shima Yosake alone and swaying in the wind. This is not a strange thing. Because of his uncle's ugly appearance, people in this village did not dare to come into contact with him, who looked like a half-orc. If the other party hadn't said that he could help the village defeat the demonic flame dragon, there probably wouldn't even be a representative to talk to him. The demon flame dragon was too powerful. No matter how much they were willing to pay, no adventurers would challenge this legendary dragon. So when Yosuke Shima appeared, although he looked strange, the people in the village still explained the situation to him with the attitude of giving it a try. However, it was different when Yi Cheng and Kui came to the village. Both Yi Cheng and Kui had looks that were far higher than the world average. At first glance, they had the so-called strong style. Then look at this temperament, which is beyond Yosuke Shima's tramp style. Of course, the villagers now trust Yosuke and Sui, who look more stylish than Shima Yosuke's scrawled painting style. Are you two brave men? Please help us. The demonic flame dragon appeared in this area a month ago, and it has already destroyed several villages. It will soon be our turn. Quote. Yi Cheng and Kui, who had just arrived in the village, were surrounded by a large number of villagers before they could say anything, and they were mistaken for the so-called brave. It's not surprising that the villagers would think so, because anyone living in this world knows how powerful the demonic flame dragon is. Yecheng and the others did not come with an army, but just these two people dared to come to attack the demonic flame dragon. Except for the brave, they almost didn't think about it. Moreover, Yi Cheng and Kui's appearance and temperament really fit the villagers' impression of a brave, so they received a warm welcome when they first arrived in the village. Excuse me, you just said that the divine sword that can defeat the demonic flame dragon is not finished yet. Can you continue to talk about it? The previous demonic poison dragon was killed by Yi Cheng first. This time about the demonic flame dragon, Shima Yosake wanted to win back the victory, so at this moment he quietly found the village representative just now, hoping to learn from him what had just happened. Unfinished information. Why haven't you left yet? The brave man is here now. He will help us defeat the demonic flame dragon. You'd better not die in vain. Get out of here quickly. Shima Yosake. Shima Yosake was dumbfounded. The other party's previous attitude was obviously not like this. When I hugged my thigh and cried bitterly before asking for help, the other party's attitude was obviously very sincere, and he answered all questions. But now that Yi Cheng and Kui have arrived, these villagers will instantly change the targets of their kneeling and licking. Do you want to be so snobbish? In fact, we also want to hear about the divine sword that can defeat the demonic flame dragon. Hearing the brave Yi Cheng ask questions, the surrounding villagers suddenly became excited again and began to tell the legends and stories they knew. According to a legend circulated in our village, if you want to defeat the legendary powerful dragon demon flame dragon, you need to find the descendants of the Ice Clan. The descendant of the Ice Clan guards the weapon frozen divine sword that can seal the demonic flame dragon, and the descendant of this generation of Ice Clan is a girl. If a brave man wants to get the frozen divine sword from her hand, he must untie the girl's hard knot. The way to untie the hard knot is to go to the Maljid mountain and pick a kind of fluffy flower for her, special flowers. Quote. When he heard what the villagers said, Shima Yosake suddenly felt like giving up such a troublesome preliminary task, because the name of the mountain was too long and he really couldn't remember so much. And since he came to this other world, he has almost always followed the flow, wandering wherever he goes. If he wants to let him, a stranger from another world, find Mount Jide, it is difficult in itself. It's quite high. Moreover, even if you reach Mount Margid, you still have to search for a peng-peng flower in a large mountain. Although such a task is not dangerous, it is quite a waste of time. After they found Maljid Mountain, brought back the so-called fluffy flowers, and untied the girl's hard knot, the demon flame dragon destroyed countless villages and went back to sleep. Can't you just give me that thing called the frozen divine sword? As you can see, we are brave men. In order to get the so-called artifact, frozen divine sword, as soon as possible and reduce the difficulty of defeating the demon flame dragon. Yi Cheng also directly admitted that he was the so-called brave, under Kui's speechless expression. However, Yosuke Shima didn't think there was any problem with this. According to the normal operation of Sega games, the brave is going to fight the boss, and the villager-like character provides the brave with artifact help. Isn't this quite normal? Now these villagers obviously regard Yi Cheng, who has quite good looks and temperament, as a brave, so it is not completely impossible to directly omit the prerequisite tasks. This is the so-called game loophole, and insiders also call it bug. I'm afraid this won't work. Although we also want to help the brave man, the frozen divine sword has been guarded by the descendants of the Ice Clan for generations. If she doesn't want to hand over the frozen divine sword, there's nothing we can do against her. Quote, to be honest, no one in the village has a good impression of the so-called descendant of the Ice Clan. In the name of being a descendant of the Ice Clan and guarding the frozen divine sword, the other party stays in the village all day eating and drinking, and never does any labor. For such a rice insect, the people in the village will naturally not like him. However, the frozen divine sword can indeed restrain the sealed demonic flame dragon. For the peace of the village for generations, they really need to support the dead descendants of the Ice Clan. Yi City, how about we just go find the demonic flame dragon? Although the pre-missions in Sega games can make it easier to clear certain copies, they don't have to be completed. As long as we are strong enough, we can defeat the demonic flame dragon even without relying on the ice sword. Quote, Shima Yosake pushed up his glasses with his hand. He felt that the preliminary tasks were too troublesome. Now he suggested that he go directly to the demon flame dragon to fight. If he could defeat him, he would fight. If he could not defeat him, he would run away. As for Shima Yosuke's ridiculous battle plan, what is incredible is that the elf girl Sui actually agrees with it this time. Because in Kui's view, the task of untying the knot in the heart of a girl who is the last descendant of the Ice Clan is really too inappropriate. According to the general formula of fairy tales and legends and biographies, a brave man travels across mountains and rivers to pick flowers for a character such as a witch, and unties the other party's heart knot, thus obtaining the help of the witch, and finally successfully defeats the evil dragon. So, isn't the next plot going to be a cliché plot where a hero and a witch-like character who helps him live happily together? Kui will definitely not be able to accept such a plot development, not to mention that she has never seen what the so-called descendant of the Ice Clan looks like. But the plot development of letting Yi Cheng solve the knot of a girl's heart already made Kui feel quite bad. To be honest, with Yi Cheng's good looks, deceiving those little girls who have not yet experienced the world is as simple as eating and drinking water. This so-called descendant of the Ice Clan is obviously a deadbeat according to the villagers. If he can solve it, after her heart knot, what should Yi Cheng do if he is obsessed with the other party? In order to avoid this possibility and reduce one potential opponent, Sui agreed to Shima Yosuke's suggestion and went directly to Demon Flame Dragon to fight. Anyway, Kui felt that with the fighting power of the three of them, even if they were defeated by the demonic flame dragon, it would not be a big problem to escape. How about we go meet the so-called descendant of the Ice Clan? Maybe he is a guy who is easy to talk to. According to the descriptions of the villagers, this descendant of the Ice Clan is just an autistic, homely girl. The prerequisite for obtaining the frozen divine sword is to untie the knot in her heart, and it's not like a fluffy flower. With my many years of experience, uncle, can't I coax and enlighten a mere autistic girl? Quote, a girl who is the last descendant of the Ice Clan, named Maybelue Rebel, lives on the edge of the village. She rarely communicates with the villagers, and rarely even goes out. Even food is delivered directly to her home by the villagers. The one at the door is a waste of daily life. Maybelue's home is said to be a house, but strictly speaking, it is more like a cave. Except for an extra door, it is almost impossible to see such a place in Night City. Can it be called a house? Based on what the villagers said before, this girl from the Ice Clan seems to be a very lazy guy who likes to sleep all day long, so it seems reasonable to make the house like this. When a few people in Yechung pushed open the door and entered, a bone-chilling chill suddenly blew in their faces. I saw that in the small cave, both the ceiling and the floor were covered with a large number of ice edges. In the room, a girl with waist-length blue hair and a lazy face but extremely beautiful appearance, was sitting in the room holding a long sword completely covered in ice. The girl's eyes were empty. Although she had a beautiful face that was no less beautiful than the elf girl Kuie, there was no expression on her face, as if she had not woken up at all. She even looked at the Night City who opened the door and entered. Several people also didn't care, as if they were all indifferent to each other. As the last descendant of the Ice Clan, Maybailu's character is that of a cold iceberg goddess with the legendary 3 attributes. Of course not. In fact, whether it was the ice in the room or the way she was sitting with the frozen divine sword in her hands, it was all carefully designed by Maybailu before Yi Cheng and the others entered the house. There had been so much noise outside before, and Yi Cheng and the others did not lower their voices, so even Maybailu, who was staying in the house, naturally knew that the so-called brave had come to their village and was ready to follow her. I borrowed the frozen divine sword. I am the last descendant of the Ice Clan, and now the braves are coming to visit me. If I still maintain the old habit of being a lazy person, then won't I be looked down upon by the braves? Therefore, in order to maintain the strong character of the Ice Clan, the scene they saw in Night City was actually specially arranged by Maybailu. Don't ask why you made your room full of ice. The question is that the previous room was too messy and Maybailu didn't have time to tidy it up, so she had to cover it all with ice. Just like now, he conceals his property of abandoned house and at the same time shows off his strong character. There is nothing wrong with that. It's just that in the next few days, she may have to sneak out to live. After all, even if she is an Ice Clan, she doesn't like sleeping in such an environment of ice and snow. Your Excellency, you are Mebel Rebel, the descendant of the Ice Clan who protects the frozen divine sword. We are brave men who have heard that your village is in trouble and plan to defeat the demonic flame dragon. Now we want to borrow the magical weapon, frozen divine sword, in your hand to defeat the demonic flame dragon. I wonder if you can part with it and borrow it. Quote. It has to be said that the scene carefully arranged by Maybailu is still somewhat effective. When the people from Yecheng entered the door, looking at Maybailu who was sitting with her knees on her chin, she really felt that the other party was extremely powerful. Although in Yi Cheng's perception, Maybailu's magical power seems to be nothing remarkable, and may even be much weaker than Sui, it does not rule out the possibility that the other party may be a hidden boss. Have you brought the fluffy flowers from Mount Margid? In order to maintain her character, Maybailu slowly raised her head and looked at the 3 people in Yecheng with extremely cold and lifeless eyes. In fact, Maybailu has no interest in the so-called Pengpenghua at all, and she doesn't know what it can do, but the pre-mission of the Ice Clan to hand over the frozen divine sword is like this, and now it's just a step-by-step process. Although Maybailu looks like a pretty girl with a cold appearance at first glance, she is actually a waste house plus small animal type character who easily gets carried away. In fact, most of the reason why Maybailu has such an abandoned house attribute is due to her mother. When Maybailu was 9 years old, her mother abandoned her and ran away with a young man, and wrote the secrets of the Ice Clan into books for sale. Moreover, Maybailu's mother once taught her, you will be a moth when you are alive, and you will not work even when you die. To this day, the only way to eat your ancestors is with the frozen divine sword. It is also because of this that Maybailu has been relying on the frozen divine sword to work as a borer in the village. Her only job is to guard the frozen divine sword and wait for the brave to come and borrow the sword. For this kind of job, Maybailu is naturally quite satisfied and likes it. After all, she can eat and wait for death every day. As for when the hero will come, she doesn't know and doesn't care. Anyway, even if the brave man came to visit, she would just have to complete her work, step by step. We didn't find the fluffy flower, but we found some other things to replace the fluffy flower. I hope you can lend us the frozen divine sword. When they heard that the people in Yecheng didn't bring Pengpenghua, they wanted to take the frozen divine sword from their hands. Maybailu originally wanted to kick them out. Although she is lazy, she still has some professional ethics for her only job. Besides, she had always been the one to have love with others for free, but now it was someone else's turn to have love with her for free, and Maybailu was naturally unwilling to agree. Don't refuse in a hurry, Miss Maybelle, although I don't know what the fluffy flower means to you. But the things we use to replace them are not ordinary things. They can even be said to be unique things in this world. Quote. As Yi Cheng spoke, he stretched out his hand behind him. At the same time, Shima Yosake also activated the magic with understanding, turning a white paper with nothing in it directly into a book with exquisite patterns and rich colors. Books. I heard that Miss Mabel is a homebody who doesn't like to go out, a literary girl. I happen to be such a person before, so I know that people like us like something. The thing in my hand is called a comic book. It is a very interesting pastime. Ms. Maybailu may wish to take a look. Quote. Looking at the comic book thrown in front of her, Mabelu originally wanted to pretend not to care, but the exquisite patterns on the cover of the book quickly caught her attention. Just to see if she would suffer any loss, Maybailu finally slowly stretched out her hand and opened the book. And it doesn't matter, after looking at Mabelu, she couldn't stop at all. Now she felt as if a door to a new world had been opened to her. Before this, Mabelu really didn't expect that in the world and such interesting books. In the past, Mabiru spent most of her time at home sleeping, which could be described as a real waste of time. It's not that she doesn't want to do other things, but that there are too few entertainment methods in this world, and Maybailu, who gets tired, doesn't want to do anything else, so in the end, all she can do is sleep. But the appearance of this comic book today refreshed Maybailu's understanding and let her know that even lying down can be very comfortable. Taking out comic books to trade was something Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake had discussed outside. As they were both dead nerds, they naturally knew what their kind needed. It is not difficult for Shima Yosake to reappear comic books in this world. He only needs to let the memory elf engrave all his memories about comics on the books. Because their goal at the beginning was to untie Mabel's heart, Yosuke Shima chose comedy comics. At this moment, seeing the expression on Maybailu's face that she was holding back something uncomfortable, but trying not to laugh in order to maintain her composure, he knew that this wave should be stable. Soon, Mabelu quickly browsed through a comic with dozens of pages, but the plot just happened to be stuck at the climax, which whetted Mabelu's appetite. How about it, Miss Maybailu? Our sincerity should be quite sufficient. This kind of book is absolutely unique in the whole world. As long as you lend us the Frozen Divine Sword, in addition to the follow-up to the comic just now, we can provide you with 10 more different comics. Quote. Crack, click. When she heard the terms of exchange proposed by Yi Cheng, the Frozen Divine Sword, held in Mabelu's arms suddenly began to have a large number of cracks in the ice that originally covered the sword body, and gradually shattered. Come. According to what the previous villagers said, if they don't go to Maljid Mountain to pick Pengpeng flowers, to untie Maybailu's hard knot, even if Maybailu lends them the Frozen Divine Sword, it will be of no use. Because the state of mind of the Ice Clan that guards the Frozen Divine Sword is closely related to the state of the Frozen Divine Sword itself. The thicker the ice covering the Frozen Divine Sword is, the greater the inner knot and estrangement in the heart of the Ice Clan holding the sword. At this moment, looking at the ice that is constantly breaking outside the Frozen Divine Sword, although Maybailu still manages her expressions very well, Yecheng and the others already know that the other party is already attracted. The magical Pengpenghua, for a dead house, how can the allure of a flower be compared with that of a comic book? Seeing the effect of the bait thrown out, Yi Cheng took advantage of the victory and took out a bag of gold, silver coins from the storage magic he had just learned recently, and then continued to speak. Of course, in addition to the 10 comic books, we will also pay Miss Maybelle some additional fees, which is regarded as the rental fee for the Frozen Divine Sword. After all, we also know that Miss Maybelle likes to stay in her own house and do the things she likes, and if she wants to do the things she likes without working, she needs a certain amount of funds. Quote. When Yi Cheng endured a look of pain on his face and threw a large bag of silver coins from the storage space to the ground, making a clanging sound, the frozen god sword in Maybailu's hand was filled with ice at the moment. It also shattered instantly. Is this the so-called Frozen Divine Sword? It doesn't seem to have anything special about it. With a large bag of silver coins and 10 comic books, Yi Cheng and the others finally exchanged the Frozen Divine Sword from Mabelle's hands. This sword is entirely icy blue in color, and the hilt is like a pair of outstretched wings. Even if it is held in the hand at this moment, it emits a biting cold air. Indeed, if you say this is a legendary artifact, it would be too ordinary. Even the long sword I made with the ice elf seems to be able to achieve similar effects. However, according to what the previous villagers said, the frozen divine sword seems to have the ability to seal with ice, which can be extremely effective in restraining the demonic flame dragon. Quote, Shima Yosake and Sui were also carefully looking at the frozen divine sword in Yi Cheng's hands at this moment. One of them was purely out of curiosity about the artifact, and the other was just observing whether the frozen divine sword was the ancient relic he was looking for. Well, now that I've got the sword, if it's not awesome, I always need to give it a try. The three people from Yecheng who obtained the frozen divine sword then followed the instructions of the villagers and came to the dragon's lair where the demonic flame dragon was. The dragon's nest of the demonic flame dragon is located next to a volcanic crater. When the three of them came to a lava zone, they were almost dripping with sweat. No wonder the previous legends said that if you want to defeat the demon flame dragon, the frozen divine sword is a necessity. Putting aside the other things, there are really not many adventurers who can withstand the unbearable hot environment. According to the plan, I will lead that guy out of the cave, and you will ambush at the entrance of the cave. After seeing Sui and Shima Yosake nodding in agreement and finding suitable output positions, Yi Cheng also held the frozen divine sword and directly entered the demon flame dragon's lair. Roar! And a few minutes later, with the sound of a dragon's roar echoing in the volcanic area, an extremely huge red dragon roared out of the cave. This giant red dragon, like the demonic poison dragon, is a giant lizard-like western dragon with 3 neatly arranged dragon horns on its head. But in terms of size, the demonic flame dragon was much larger than the demonic poison dragon they had encountered before. The previous demonic poison dragon was only about 15 meters in size and could only survive 20 meters. But the demonic flame dragon in front of him was wrapped in flames. It was conservatively estimated to be about 50 meters in size. It was a real giant dragon. When the demonic flame dragon flew out, its tail was completely frozen by ice. Although Sui and Shima Yosake who were ambushing at the entrance of the cave didn't know what Yi Cheng had done to them in the dragon's nest, but it can be clearly felt that the demonic flame dragon is quite angry at this moment. Almost at the moment when the demonic flame dragon roared out, Sui and Shima Yosake, who had been preparing for their attack, rushed out at the same time and attacked it head-on. The armor on Kui's body is actually one of the ancient relics she found. It can achieve an acceleration effect through magic power, and it also has a certain degree of defense against magic power and physics. At this moment, she activated the ancient relics on her body and completed super acceleration. She was holding a long sword and prepared to stab directly into the eyes of the demonic flame dragon. On the other side, Shima Yosake, who was flying in the air using wind magic, also condensed a sword of light in his hand, and his target was the eye on the other side of the demonic flame dragon. Just like a giant dragon creature like the demon flame dragon, its body is almost covered with hard dragon scales. It is not a simple matter for ordinary weapons to penetrate its defense, and the weaknesses of this creature are not originally many. Sui and Shima Yosake will stab the demon flame dragon's eyes at the same time. This is what they had agreed upon from the beginning. The demonic flame dragon, which had just flown out of its lair, never thought that the shameless human before had other companions and that they were ambushed here again. So when the demonic flame dragon felt the danger coming from both sides of its body, powerful magic power erupted from its body at this moment. With the incitement of its wings, a violent flame emerged from its body in an instant. Crimson flames spurted out from the demon flame dragon, forming a wall of fire at its center and spreading directly to the surroundings. Facing the oncoming flames, Shima Yosake quickly borrowed the power of the ice elf again, completely covering his body with ice in an instant, and finally successfully withstood the wall of fire. However, compared to the cheating Shima Yosake, the elf girl Sui is obviously not that relaxed. Although Kui also used magic defense at the moment when the wall of fire was pushed towards him, the intensity of its magic was obviously not on the same level as the flame intensity of the demonic flame dragon. The demonic flame dragon is a legendary giant dragon, even far more powerful than the demonic poison dragon. How can it be so easy to resist the ultimate move it uses to save its life at this moment? However, just when the elf girl Kui was about to be swallowed up by the wall of fire, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her, and held her behind her with one hand, and directly made a fist with the other hand, instantly blasting the wall of flames in front of her. That's right, The wall of flames, which was comparable to the strength of human forbidden magic, was blown away by the sudden appearance of the figure with a bare-handed punch. Looking at the sparks that turned into fire and fell, the elf girl Kui looked at the figure in front of her, even feeling a little dazed. Kui, I'll give you the frozen divine sword. This sword can directly launch a very powerful ice-type attack. It should be able to resist that guy's flames without any problem. After letting go of Chenying in his arms, Yi Cheng stuffed the frozen divine sword directly into the hands of Kui, who was still in a daze. When the girl reacted, she couldn't help but said, "You gave me the frozen divine sword, what will you do?" Quote, Kui K knows that Yi Cheng has a superb swordsmanship level. Compared with Ye Cheng's swordsmanship level, his own swordsmanship is not even second-rate, not to mention the orcish face. If it weren't for the huge magic power and the elves' assistance, his swordsmanship is purely that of a layman. It was also because Yi Cheng had the highest level of swordsmanship that they had unanimously decided before that Yi Cheng would use the frozen divine sword. There are no handy weapons in Yi City now. The long knife I bought before was of average quality and had been corroded by the opponent's poisonous mist during the battle with the poisonous dragon. The long sword forged from the materials of the demonic poison dragon is still being forged, and they were unable to catch up before Yi City and the others left Mag Town. It's okay, your swordsmanship is pretty good, and the frozen divine sword is the same in your hands, and it can also be used for self-defense. As for my words, when did I say that the only thing I'm good at is swordsmanship? Quote, as Yi Cheng's words fell, his figure disappeared again in front of Kui, and when his figure flashed out again, he had already used Shunbu to come to the head of the demonic flame dragon. As for the other side, Shima Yosake was slightly burned due to the protection of the ice elves, but he was also holding the sword of light at this moment and stabbing the eyes of the demonic flame dragon. Seeing a human and an orc attacking him on the left and right, the demonic flame dragon also let out an angry roar at this moment. With the current distance between the two of them in Yi City, Demon Flame Dragon wanted to use his ultimate move just like he did just now, but even if he had to gather his magic power, he would not be able to catch up in time. Facing Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake who were attacking from both sides, the demonic flame dragon could only attack one of them. Generally speaking, Shima Yosake holding the sword of light should be much more intimidating than the bare-handed Yojo here, no matter from any aspect. However, what puzzles Ling Kui is that in this situation where he can only choose one of the two, the demonic flame dragon raises its head and sprays its flaming dragon breath towards Yi City. The demonic flame dragon actually preferred to have one of his eyes lost by Shima Yosake before killing Yi Cheng. This made Kui a little curious. What did Yi Cheng do to the demonic flame dragon in the dragon's nest, so that the opponent is now the anger level towards Night City is so high? Why does the demonic flame dragon completely focus its hatred on Yi Cheng? This is no nonsense. I was still sleeping well, but suddenly a big ice pick was stuck in the Kikub area. How does it feel? Originally, the demon flame dragon was having a sweet dream about communicating with a group of female dragons. Who knew that an ice dragon that was even bigger than him suddenly appeared in the dream, and then pinned it to the ground with a claw. When the demon flame dragon was surprised by the severe pain, he looked at his bloody and frozen tail, and then looked at Yi Cheng holding the frozen divine sword in his hand. He still didn't know what was happening. He is a majestic dragon, and even if he is placed among the dragon clan, he is still a dragon with dignity and respect. Now that something like this has happened, if other dragons find out about it in the future, how will he, the demonic flame dragon, survive? There is no doubt that after feeling that its dignity was trampled on, the demonic flame dragon naturally began to launch a fierce attack on Night City. However, Demon Flame Dragon was soon surprised to find that the human in front of him was quite powerful, and he was holding the freezing divine sword that restrained him. In a short period of time, he was not only helpless against the opponent, but was even wounded all over his body by being slashed by it. Demonic Flame Dragon felt that the dragon's lair was too small for him to perform. In the end, he could only incite the dragon wings and leave Yi City directly, trying to lure it outside to fight in the crater where it would be beneficial to him. Who knows? These cunning humans actually had an ambush at the entrance of the cave, so the scene just happened. Having been plotted again and again, coupled with the previous explosive hatred, it is not surprising that the demonic flame dragon has completely locked its hatred value on Yi Cheng at this moment. So after he endured Shima Yosake's sword of light and blinded one of his eyes, he also sprayed a mouthful of flaming dragon's breath filled with anger towards Yi City. The terrifying dragon's breath turned into a huge pillar of flames that reached the sky, and completely engulfed Yi Cheng's figure in an instant. Instant coax. However, facing the flaming dragon's breath that the demonic flame dragon sprayed towards him, Yecheng, who rushed towards the opponent, did not stop and use the ghost path to defend himself. Instead, a blast of air emerged from his body, and the clothes on his back and shoulders were immediately shattered by the burst of air. And at this moment, Yi Cheng's already extremely fast speed also became even faster. Shunko was originally a special combat technique used by Yoruichi Shihoin, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Covert Mobile Division. It was not known whether it was developed by him or if it was a secret technique of the 2nd Division. But as a time traveler, Yi Cheng understood the principle of this move, so it was impossible for Yi Cheng not to learn such a powerful move. Shunju is a combat technique that combines Bai Da and Kido. To put it simply, it means that you can give up chanting and exert the power of Kido in a Bai Dao posture. And when coupled with the powerful Shun Step, Shunbu is almost the standard for those with thin skin and high attack power. Although Instant Coax has powerful attack capabilities, it does not have defensive capabilities. It is a move that completely abandons defense and directly maximizes speed and attack. However, facing the flame breath of the demonic flame dragon and Yi Cheng using Instant Coax, at this moment, the best result should have been that both the demonic flame dragon and the demonic flame dragon would suffer losses. But the moment the demonic flame dragon's flame breath rushed towards Yi Cheng's body, a film of 7 colors suddenly appeared on the surface of Yi Cheng's body. When the flames of the demonic flame dragon completely engulfed Yi Cheng was completely fine. The flames, which were enough to instantly turn rocks into magma, were instantly blocked when they touched the colorful film on Yi Cheng's body. That's right, this is not the power that Yi Cheng originally possessed, but the plugin he obtained after he came to the other world and made a wish with the god of the other world, magic immunity. This plugin may sound ordinary, but if you consider it from a practical perspective, this ability is really awesome. Magic immunity means that all moves that use magic power are ineffective against Yi City. The so-called magic immunity means that all entities related to magic attributes will lose their effect as long as they act on Yi Cheng, except for his own power. Other magic, whether it is gain or debuff, has no effect on Yi Cheng, including abilities such as curses. How you look at it, this plugin seems to be as powerful as a double-edged sword, but if you think about it carefully, you will find that the upper limit of this ability is actually quite high. In the different world of swords and magic, Yi Cheng has the ability of magic immunity, which almost means that whether the opponent is a demon king or a so-called god, if you want to kill him, you have to fight him hand to hand. The opponent's magic is ineffective against Yi Cheng, but Yi Cheng's magic can kill and deal with it, and if the opponent can only cause damage to Yi Cheng with physical attacks, how many people in this world can beat the Zon Fist zombie he has mastered? Beat him. Because he has the ability of magic immunity, Yi Cheng, who was almost bathed in the flame breath of the demonic dragon, was still fine after being baptized by the flames, and directly divided the pillar of fire into 2 halves, with one instant coax, a straight punch, and rushed directly to the head of the demon flame dragon. Boom! With huge punch pressure, Shunhu punched the demon flame dragon's hard scales, and a powerful circular shock wave instantly formed in front of the demon flame dragon's scales. The demonic flame dragon is nearly 50 meters tall, and its head alone is at least several meters in size. However, at this moment, the demonic flame dragon was punched by Yi Cheng, and its huge head was actually knocked crooked by Yi Cheng at a weird angle. And with the powerful impact force acting on the whole body, a scene occurred in the next second that shocked Kui, who was watching the battle, and dropped his jaw. The attack of Instant Coax has 2 stages of damage. To be precise, the first stage of damage should be Yi Cheng's own physical strength. It is this kind of power that knocked the demon flame dragon's head crooked with one punch. However, when Yi Cheng's fist hit demon flame dragon's head, his body was combined with Kido, and Baida, and Instant Coax, and the impact force really exploded on demon flame dragon's body. The huge impact force directly acted on the huge body of the demon flame dragon, and formed an even larger circular shock wave directly behind its body. The next second, with the dragon scales flying, the demon flame dragon's huge body suddenly exploded. With a huge sound, he was beaten away. That's right, he was just beaten away. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Kui really wouldn't believe that such an outrageous thing could happen in this world. The giant dragon is an existence at the top of the biological chain. It is famous for its huge size and powerful strength. Whether it is magic power or its own defense, it is an existence that stands at the top of the pyramid among all races on the continent. But the scene that happened in front of the elf girl now directly shattered her previous outlook and cognition into pieces. The legendary dragon demon flame dragon, which was over 50 meters in size and was among the strongest among dragons, was actually punched away by a human. No, Kui felt it was necessary to put double quotes on whether Yi Cheng was now purely human. Because in her entire life, she has never seen such an outrageous human being. If she had read it correctly, Yi Cheng would have directly separated the flame breath of the demonic flame dragon first, and finally knocked the opponent away with one punch. In fact, not to mention the elf girl Kui, even the demonic flame dragon who took the punch from Yi Cheng had no idea that it would end up like this. In the dragon's nest, the demonic flame dragon had fought against Yi Cheng before, and in its view, Yi Cheng could only fight with it by relying on its frozen divine sword to restrain it in its good swordsmanship. To deal with. Just now, the demonic flame dragon saw Yi Cheng hand over the frozen divine sword to the elf girl over there, so it made such a decision, preparing to completely burn Yi City to the ground at the cost of one eye. Because in its opinion, without the protection of the ice power of the frozen divine sword, it would be impossible for a mere human in Yecheng to withstand its own flaming breath. But the final result, even though the opponent was baptized by the flame breath from the front, it was still nothing, but it was punched away by a tiny ant-like existence. The demonic flame dragon, which was punched away, flew thousands of meters backwards in the air until it finally hit the rock wall of the crater irresistibly, and finally fell into the hot magma. Seeing this scene, Shima Yosake and Kui also returned to Yi Cheng. Kui looked at the frozen divine sword, exuding cold air in his hand, and suddenly felt that this thing seemed a bit redundant. Legends are legends, the freezing divine sword does have the power to restrain and seal the demonic flame dragon. However, for the two terrifying humans in front of her, whether or not she has the freezing divine sword to defeat the demonic flame dragon does not seem to be that important. If we fall into the lava, then we won't get any benefit at all. This demonic flame dragon is larger than the previous demonic poison dragon. Even if it is sold as pork, it can be sold for a lot more money. Quote. Looking at the bubbling hot magma in the crater, Yi Cheng also had a look of pain on his face at this moment. Because of his previous experience with the poisonous dragon, Yi Cheng now knows that the materials on the dragon are valuable. Not to mention that he has now learned the secret art of storage of the elf royal family. Even if he does not know the magic of storage, he will drag the body of the demonic flame dragon back. But now that the demonic flame dragon was suffocated into the lava by his punch, there was really nothing he could do about it. His magic immunity can only immunize against moves or magic formed by magic. Natural forces such as magma are obviously not within the scope of his immunity. This time we really lost the money to my grandma's family. Not to mention that we didn't get any materials from the demonic flame dragon. If we don't bring some scraps back to the Adventurers Guild, how can we prove that we defeated this guy? And just to be sure, I wasted a big bag of silver coins and borrowed the so-called frozen divine sword, but it turned out that this thing was of no use at all. I heard people in that village brag about how awesome the demonic flame dragon was, what a legendary dragon, the strongest creature on land, etc. I thought it was so awesome, but that's all it turned out to be. Quote. Hearing Yi Cheng's complaints because he felt sorry for his bag of silver coins, the elf girl beside him was speechless. Isn't the demon flame dragon strong? Is the frozen divine sword useless? That's just a relative term. At least Kui felt that without the frozen divine sword, she wouldn't even be able to stand in front of the demonic flame dragon. It's not because she is not strong enough, but because the demonic flame dragon is stronger, and it is not the demonic flame dragon Teokai who does not have the strength to match the legend, but the two humans next to her are as strong as monsters. Seeing the demonic flame dragon falling into the lava of the volcano, the people in Yecheng originally wanted to go to the demonic flame dragon's lair to see if there were any treasures that could restore their health. However, just when they turned around and prepared to leave, the hot magma in the crater suddenly began to roll violently. Boom! The next second, multiple hot magma pillars suddenly erupted from the crater, and as the temperature in the air became extremely hot in an instant, the figure of the demonic flame dragon spreading its wings and flying appeared again in the crater. It has to be said that as a legendary giant dragon creature, the demonic flame dragon at this moment is indeed very handsome. In terms of handsomeness, combined with the current volcanic background, it can definitely lift up the demonic poison dragon that they encountered before in Night City. Beat. Roar. The demonic flame dragon, which was blind in one eye and missing a lot of dragon scales on its side jaw, just emerged from the magma again and let out an extremely majestic dragon roar, which seemed to threaten and express its anger. The three people in Night City roared. Unfortunately, even though the demonic flame dragon roared to death, it didn't see a trace of fear on the faces of the three people in front of it. On the contrary, the white-haired handsome man among them actually showed an extremely happy look on his face when he saw the demon flame dragon making his handsome appearance again, which immediately made the demon flame dragon begin to regret a little. Through previous battles, demonic flame dragon could see that the three humans in front of it were obviously not on the same level as the humans it had encountered before. Especially the white-haired man, he was a complete monster. Not only did his flame breath have no effect on him, he even had the power to punch himself away as a giant dragon. In the current situation, its chances of winning seemed to be slim. Originally, these humans thought that they were dead when they fell into the magma. If it stayed well in the magma, it should be fine, but they didn't know what it was just now. The tendons were wrong, and it actually ran out and died on its own. Seeing that white-haired man with terrifying strength rushing toward him with excitement on his face, the demonic flame dragon, which was supposed to be the nightmare of many creatures on the mainland, turned around and ran away after being stunned for a while. Hey, don't run away. Didn't you just roar at us? Why are you running now? I'm just interested in some material on you, and I won't do anything to you. Seeing that the demonic flame dragon that fell into the lava did not die, but flew out of the lava again, Yi Cheng suddenly felt that the money was back, and he was naturally overjoyed at this moment. Seeing that the demonic flame dragon was about to run away, Yi Cheng quickly used Shunpo to catch up, and behind the demonic flame dragon, he continued to use Kido to attack. The dragon scales on the demonic flame dragon are indeed very hard, but in this different world, the strength of Night City's ghost path is not what it used to be. No matter how hard the dragon scales are, they cannot withstand Yi City's continuous bombardment. So very quickly, under the bombardment of Night City's chantless ghosts, a demonic flame dragon in the air that could not dodge was hit by a thunder roar cannon from Night City. Although this thunder roar cannon did not make the demonic flame dragon lose its fighting ability or even injure it, it did cause it to briefly lose its body balance. And relying on the short period of time when the demonic flame dragon lost its flight balance, Yi Cheng quickly closed the distance with the opponent, and began to chant the ghost spell quickly. There is light in this world, with spirits as chains and souls as chains. All things bound are sin. The 63 of the Tao of Binding Chain Binding. Quote. The glowing golden chain was thrown out from Yi Cheng's hand. With the strength of the chain, it was unrealistic to restrain the demonic flame dragon, which was almost 50 meters tall, in a short time. Therefore, the chain binding used by Yi City did not expect to be able to completely restrain the demonic flame dragon. Instead, it wrapped around the feet, and then at the moment when the golden chain was tightened, it directly relied on the pulling force of the chain to turn over. He jumped onto the body of the demonic flame dragon and made a guest appearance as a so-called dragon knight. Feeling that the previous human was riding on him, the demonic flame dragon naturally felt annoyed. It was a proud dragon, and anyone could ride on its back. So soon, the angry demon flame dragon activated the magic power in his body, causing his body surface to burst into blazing flames, trying to burn Night City to ashes. Unfortunately, facing the flames that were as hot as magma, Yi Cheng turned over and rode on the demonic flame dragon. Although the few clothes left on his body were completely burned by the flames, with the ability of magic immunity, my body is still fine. Seeing that he could not kill Yi Cheng, a human being, the demonic flame dragon flapped its wings again and began to complete a series of difficult flight performances in the air, turning and circling in various ways, just to throw off Yi Cheng from its back. It's a pity that Yi Cheng is on his back. Looking at the body of the demonic flame dragon at this moment, it is as if he is looking at a large treasure house. He directly tied his body to the opponent with a chain, to prevent him from being thrown off by this violent dragon. Then Yi Cheng clenched his fists and pointed directly at the demonic flames under him. Long punched him one after another. Infinite instant coax. Boom 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 boom. The fist with the power of instant coax punched the demon flame dragon's back one punch after another. At this moment, the demon flame dragon obviously no longer had the arrogance it had before. Even when Yi Cheng punched his first punch from his back, demon flame dragon, who felt the severe pain and impact, could no longer maintain its flying state and fell straight from the air. Even though the demonic flame dragon fell straight down from the sky, Yi Cheng did not choose to stop. Instead, he just rode on the demonic flame dragon, and his fists rained down like raindrops. The airflow and shock wave caused by the instant coax not only caused the dragon scales on the demon flame dragon to fall off piece by Yi Cheng, but even the ground where the demon flame dragon lay on was directly affected by the powerful impact. Shock waves formed one after another on the ground. When Shima Yosake and Sui caught up, they were obviously a little dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. A human is actually riding a giant dragon hammer, and with the waves of fists from Yi City, the big hole under the demon flame dragon is getting bigger and bigger. Judging from this posture, it is estimated that not long after, the first one in history will the dragon that was beaten to death by human fists is about to be born. Yecheng, don't kill it first. This demonic flame dragon seems to be begging for mercy. It said that as long as you don't kill it, it can promise not to cause trouble again. Even if you don't believe in it, it can recognize you as its master. Quote, the demonic flame dragon, which had been beaten up by Yi Cheng before, seemed to have made a lot of incomprehensible noises, but Yi Cheng didn't understand it and even thought it was the other party screaming. But now that he heard Shima Yosake's words, Yi Cheng was immediately stunned. Chapter 51. Obviously, demon flame dragon's unclear roars were begging for mercy rather than screaming. However, because Yi Cheng did not have a universal lobbyist, like Shima Yosake, he could not understand demon flame dragon's language. And the demonic flame dragon, who had been being ridden and beaten by Yi Cheng, felt aggrieved in his heart at this moment. As a proud dragon, it is undoubtedly humiliating to bow to a human being and even prepare to accept him as his master. However, faced with the threat of death, Demon Yanlong suddenly felt that mere dignity was nothing. God knows where these human beings suddenly appeared from, especially the white-haired human being. The demonic flame dragon even seriously doubted that the other human being was not a human being at all, because it had never seen a human being who could kill it so fiercely. The giant dragon slammed the hammer on the ground. However, what makes the demonic flame dragon even more speechless is that because of the threat of death and the power of Night City, it was originally ready to bow its head and surrender, but the human man on top of it had no intention of letting go and still waved. The fist with the magic power fluctuates, constantly greeting himself. It wasn't until the opponent's orc companion came over and said the words just now that the demonic flame dragon finally reacted. It turned out that it was not that the other party ignored his surrender, but that they did not understand each other's language, so that the two sides can't communicate normally at all. That's right, this is normal operation. I am also a legendary dragon after all. Now that I have surrendered to a mere human, it is impossible for the other party not to be moved. The other party could not understand me before, so this can make sense. The demonic flame dragon thought so in its heart, and at the same time it was comforting itself. Although it chose to surrender, as a legendary dragon, it still has a head and a face even among the dragon clan. Even if it surrenders to the humans in front of it, nor would I choose a slave contract. There are many ways to surrender, and in order to survive, the demon flame dragon is going to sign an equal contract with Yi Cheng, which is similar to a partnership. To be able to sign such an equal contract with a legendary dragon like it, a mere human should feel honored and even grateful. Yecheng, this demonic flame dragon said that as long as you are willing to let it survive, it is willing to sign a contract with you and become your partner and friend. If we are in need, we can help each other. The demonic flame dragon screamed and talked a lot, but Yi Cheng didn't understand a word of it, but at this moment, Shima Yosake, who was beside him, thoughtfully acted as a translator. It wants to be my partner. What's in it for me? They even help each other. How can it help me if it is as good as it is? And when it needs help, I have to lend a helping hand to it. No matter how you look at it, I am at a disadvantage, right? If that's the case, it's better to just kill him. Judging from this guy's size and strength, the materials on him should be much more valuable than the previous demonic poison dragon. Quote. Yi Cheng couldn't understand the demonic roars of the demonic flame dragon, but the demonic flame dragon could understand human language. When he heard what Ye Cheng said, the entire demonic flame dragon was instantly confused. He is a demonic flame dragon. It is said to be a powerful being that can destroy the world, bring about all kinds of disasters, and can even stop babies from crying on the mainland. Now he is willing to lower his stature and sign an equal contract with a human being, and he is actually being disliked. Is there something wrong with this human being's brain? Just because you like the material on your body, you plan to kill yourself. Isn't a living dragon thug more useful than a pile of dragon corpse materials that can only be sold for money? Why do you think that if you stare at me with your eyes wide open and act cute, I will change my mind? So tell me, is there anything wrong with what I just said? What you call an equal contract should be something like a fighting partner. Now that you are the one being pinned to the ground by me, you think that means I am far stronger than you. If you encounter an enemy that even I can't fight against, then even if I bring you, the so-called legendary dragon, do you think you can be of any help? On the contrary, if you encounter a strong opponent, I will help you in turn. No matter how you look at it, I will be the one who suffers, so why should I accept your suggestion? Quote. Hearing Yi Cheng's analysis, the demonic flame dragon was stunned. Although it wanted to refute, unfortunately it found that it seemed to have no excuse to refute. It is a legendary dragon with extremely high standards. In the eyes of other humans, it is definitely an unattainable existence. But the point of the problem is that the humans in front of it cannot be judged by normal human standards at all. Seeing Yi Cheng taking the frozen divine sword from Kui's hand and making gestures on his body, as if looking for a suitable place to bleed, the demonic flame dragon quickly roared out with another struggle. The Shima Yosake translator on the side heard that Mo Yanlong had something to say, and he quickly started doing his job at this moment. Wait a minute, don't you think it's quite cool to have a legendary dragon as your partner? You must know that a giant dragon like me is an existence that you humans fear. If you ride on me, you will be awed and worshipped by other humans. Quote. Since ancient times, dragons have been the most feared and awe-inspiring powerful creatures by humans, so heroes are generally inseparable from dragons. A hero who can slay a dragon is certainly awesome, but a brave man who can impress a giant dragon is obviously even better. This is what the demon flame dragon wants to express at this moment. Unfortunately, I don't like the limelight, and I'm more interested in money than showing off in front of ordinary people. Yi Cheng expressed no interest in the demon flame dragon's bewitchment, and he had already found a starting point. At this moment, he had raised the frozen divine sword high and was about to bleed the demon flame dragon. Okay, I understand, cunning human being, I am willing to surrender to you completely. It is not an equal contract, but an unequal slave contract. As long as you are willing to let me live, my legendary dragon, the demonic flame dragon, can recognize you as its master. That's all right. Quote. There was no way, even though the arrogant demon flame dragon didn't want to compromise, it was now at a critical point in its life. If it didn't make concessions, it would really lose its life. How much is dignity worth compared to your own life? Haven't you heard how cruel this human being was before? They are both members of the dragon clan, and they also know the demon poison dragon and the demon flame dragon. A rising star of the dragon clan, in a few hundred years, they may be able to reach their current level. However, it is not difficult to tell from the words of these people just now that I, a junior, may have been brutally murdered. In order to prevent itself from following in the footsteps of the demonic poison dragon and having its parts become human equipment, the demonic flame dragon had to make the final concession. Call. The frozen divine sword that was supposed to pierce the demon flame dragon's neck stopped just a fraction of a second away from the dragon scales. The cold air emanating from the sword at this moment even made the demon flame dragon feel as if he had just escaped. It's like taking a trip through hell. If the orc hadn't translated quickly enough, he probably wouldn't have saved his head. When he thought of this, demon flame dragon couldn't help but look at Shima Yosake beside him with gratitude. Although the other party had blinded one of his eyes before, compared to what Yi Cheng did, Demon Yanlong felt that the other party was already kind. Of course, even now, the demonic flame dragon has not yet understood how a half-orc can understand their noble dragon language. However, these are not the focus now. The focus is on the chips it finally released. Can it keep yourself alive? What do you mean, are you willing to be my lackey? After hearing what Yi Cheng said, Demon Yanlong also had a look of human humiliation on his face. Although this is true, it is too ugly to call him a lackey. After all, he is also a proud dragon. At least it is okay to call himself, accepting younger brother. However, despite the displeasure on his face, in order to survive, the demonic flame dragon could only nod in humiliation. After weighing the gains and losses, Yecheng finally chose to accept this little dragon brother. Although the materials on the dragon are rare and expensive, the way to make money is not just by hunting the dragon. With a thug like the demon flame dragon, the benefits it can create for him in the future will obviously be far greater than a dead demon flame dragon. Moreover, Yi Cheng had only deliberately said that the opponent was too weak in order to force demon flame dragon to surrender. Is the demonic flame dragon weak? Not at all. To put it bluntly, the reason why the other party has become a legendary existence and has been wreaking havoc on the mainland for so many years and still gets away with it is because of its unparalleled power. Putting aside the cheating Shima Yosake, the elf girl Sui is already considered a first-class powerhouse in this world, but facing an existence like the demonic flame dragon, it is estimated that even 3 or 5 of them are not enough to defeat it. If it weren't for the plug-in skill, magic immunity, it would not be easy for Yi Cheng to defeat the demonic flame dragon. After signing an unequal slave contract with Yi Cheng, both Yi Cheng and demon flame dragon obtained a new skill magic. The extra magic skill in Night City is summoning magic. As the name suggests, if assistance is needed, you can use the summoning magic array to summon the demon flame dragon by consuming a certain amount of magic power. The extra magic on the demonic flame dragon's side is transformation magic. Because they signed an unequal slave contract, the appearance of the demonic flame dragon will tend to be of the race of the contractor. With a flash of bright white light, the demonic flame dragon, which was originally riding under Yi Cheng, was also shrinking in size. Then about a minute later, 2 men and 1 woman were stunned. No wonder Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake had such expressions at the moment, because no one had thought that the legendary dragon demon flame dragon that wreaked havoc everywhere would actually be a female dragon. Moreover, after signing a contract with Yi City and successfully transforming into another person, the appearance shown by the other party was actually that of a turbulent red-haired royal sister. When he looked at the lady in front of him, who had red hair reaching her waist, a wild look on her face, a dragon horn on her head, and a dragon tail behind her, Yi Cheng was also stunned. This is wrong. When I attacked you in the dragon's nest before, when you woke up from your sleep, you looked obviously dissatisfied with your desires. How could you be a female? Although the opponent was a dragon, Yi Cheng could tell what the opponent was dreaming about by seeing the rippling expression of the demonic flame dragon when he was dreaming, so he launched a sneak attack on the opponent's Kikubu area. Don't ask why Yi Cheng knows what demon flame dragon is dreaming about. Even if they are of different races, as long as they are men, they will understand. It was also for this reason that Yi Cheng had always thought that the demonic flame dragon with that crazy expression was male, but the result was beyond his expectation. What's so strange about this? Who said female dragons can't like other little female dragons? But the master, you, took advantage of her sleep to do something very rude to this lady. Quote, because of the effect of the transformation skill, the demonic flame dragon not only turned into a dragon lady, but also had the ability to speak. But at this moment, Yi Cheng didn't want the other party to speak at all, because what she said was quite bad. Putting aside everything else, at this moment, Yi Cheng could already feel a compelling sight behind him, making him feel like a ray of light on his back. Yecheng, I'm curious, what did you do to the demonic flame dragon in the dragon's lair before? Kui asked in a rather calm tone, even with a warm smile on her face. However, Yi Cheng's keen intuition could feel that an aura-called danger was spreading. Before he could quibble about his previous behavior, explain, the demonic flame dragon on the side seemed to have never spoken before, and directly turned on the talkative mode and answered, "It turned out that I was sleeping with many little female dragons. We were playing together, but in my dream, a male dragon that was bigger than me suddenly appeared and pinned me to the ground with one claw. When I felt a pain in my lower body, I was suddenly awakened. Later I realized that the person who attacked me was not a male dragon, but the master holding the frozen divine sword in his hand. The frozen divine sword is one of the weapons that restrains me. It can use magic power to create ice, and the owner at the time created a huge ice cone." As the demonic flame dragon continued to talk, the expression of the elf girl Kui on the side became more and more ugly, and the murderous intention emanating from her body became more and more intense. "Sunny and cheerful boy, do you have anything to explain? I just thought you were perverted before, but I didn't expect you to be so perverted." Seeing Kui Yu's gesture of calling him with the frozen divine sword, Yi Cheng quickly backed away and explained, "Listen to my explanation, this is all a misunderstanding. How did I know that the demonic flame dragon was actually a female giant dragon, and I never imagined that she would turn into such a busty lady now." Quote. It was okay if Yi Cheng didn't explain it, but as soon as he explained it, the elf girl's face suddenly turned darker. "Isn't it even more perverted to do that even if you think the other person is a male dragon? And from what you say, you are quite satisfied with the fact that demon flame dragon can turn into a big-breasted beauty." Quote. The demonic flame dragon actually turned into a big-breasted royal sister. This was something that no one in Yecheng expected. And Kui looked at the demonic flame dragon in front of her at this moment, and her face showed an expression of reluctance again, because she found that her competitor might have another one. The demon flame dragon who transformed into a dragon lady not only has a stunning figure, but also has an outstanding appearance. Apart from having a strange habit of liking women, she is almost impeccable in other aspects. Her intuition told her before that something bad would happen if she came to defeat the demonic flame dragon this time. At first, Kui always thought that this uneasiness came from the danger, but in the end she didn't expect that it was actually this aspects. As for Shima Yosake on the side, he has always maintained a calm attitude towards the fact that Demon Flame Dragon recognized Yi City as his master and turned into a beautiful lady. This guy has always regarded this different world as a game. In his opinion, such operations seem to be common in games. Moreover, as a Sega fanatic, Yosuke Shima is far more interested in games than so-called beauties. Demonic Flame Dragon is one of the most powerful bosses in this other world. She has lived for a long time and knows a lot of information that they don't know in Night City. So when he heard that Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake were from another world and came to this world as so-called time travelers, a look of surprise appeared on his face. According to what Demon Yanlong said, this was not the first time she had encountered a time traveler. There had even been some desperate time travelers who tried to attack her and gain fame, but in the end they became her appetizer. Ridiculously powerful time travelers like Yosuke and Shima Yosake are extremely rare among the army of braves who have come to this world in the past. However, when asked by Shima Yosake about how to return to the original world, even Demon Flame Dragon, who knew many secrets, shook his head and expressed ignorance. Even though she is one of the most powerful creatures in the world, she is not a so-called sage, so how can she understand the mysteries of this world? Moreover, in the case of Yashara and Shima Yosake, they are said to be time travelers, but in fact they are more like reborn people in this world, because their flesh and blood, including the magic circuits in their bodies, are unique to this world. Even if they can find a way to return to their original world, it's hard to say whether they will still be their original selves by then. The Demon Flame Dragon has become his lackey, a thug girl. If he wants to pick off someone else's skin and beat their tendons, it is obviously inappropriate. But their trip to Night City was not in vain, because the Demon Flame Dragon is also a giant dragon, and she also has a habit of collecting treasures. The things that belong to the younger brother belong to the older brother, and the things that belong to the older brother are still the things to the older brother. Demon Yanlong watched Yi Cheng say shameless words while he kept stuffing all the treasures she had collected over the years into his storage space. Needless to say, Demon Yanlong, as a giant dragon that debuted earlier, has a very rich family, not to mention being as rich as any country. But after this wave, Yi Cheng himself can basically retire early. Compared to the demonic flame dragon, the previous demonic poison dragon was simply a poor man. Everyone was a giant dragon. The demonic poison dragon's little family fortune was simply an embarrassment to their dragon clan. On the way back, Yecheng did not let the demonic flame dragon follow. The reason was that although the demonic flame dragon had now become a dragon mother, its horns and tail were still there. Once it entered a village or town, it would inevitably cause chaos. Anyway, with summoning magic, Yi Cheng can summon the demonic flame dragon to help in the battle at any time, so even if it stays in the lair, it won't have much impact. Regarding Yi City's decision, the elf girl Kui and the demon flame dragon himself were very happy. Kui felt that she was missing a strong competitor, while Mo Yanlong simply felt that it was too embarrassing to be a follower to a legendary dragon. She even hoped that Yi Cheng would forget about her. No matter how powerful Yi Cheng was, the human lifespan was only a few hundred years. As long as she took a nap, maybe Yi City would become a cup of Lois. She can regain her freedom again and go looking for the little female dragon everywhere. After completing their purpose, Yi Cheng and the others returned to the village and returned the borrowed, frozen divine sword to Maybailu. And now, the Ice Clan girl who opened the door to a new world because of comic books has now completely become a real otaku girl. After reading several sets of comics that Yi City and the others used to borrow the frozen divine sword, the girl who was deeply poisoned actually tried to use the frozen divine sword that she relied on to survive in exchange for more comics with Yi City and the others. Naturally, Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake disdained such unscrupulous behavior. Moreover, Demon Flame Dragon has become his thug sister, and now they have the frozen divine sword, which is of little use. The frozen divine sword is very powerful, but in the eyes of Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake, it seems to be just that, and it is the most precious treasure of the Ice Clan. They used some comic books to defraud the girl of the artifact that she relies on to survive. His moral integrity has not fallen to that level. Sir Brave, did you successfully defeat the legendary dragon on this trip? Compared to Maybailu's comic book, the villagers saw that the returning Yecheng trio directly returned the frozen divine sword. They were more concerned about whether Yecheng and the others had succeeded in defeating the legendary demonic flame dragon during their trip. That giant dragon is too powerful. Even though we have the frozen divine sword in hand, we failed to defeat him this time. But don't worry, everyone. Although the demon flame dragon is not dead, it has been seriously injured by us this time, and it should not be able to come out to cause trouble again in a short time. These are the dragon scales that fell off its body when we fought with it, as well as some dragon blood left behind. Quote, when they first heard that Yi Cheng and the others had failed to defeat the demonic flame dragon, the villagers couldn't help but look disappointed. However, when they heard the second half of Yi Cheng's words and saw the red dragon scales and dragon blood that Yi Cheng took out, the villagers suddenly showed overjoyed expressions again. The villagers have never actually seen the legendary demonic flame dragon, but based on the size of the dragon scales they took out from Night City, they can roughly guess what kind of behemoth it is. Faced with such a behemoth, ordinary people would probably have weakened their hands and feet. It is quite rare for you, brave men, to be able to seriously injure it. Since the seriously injured demonic flame dragon will no longer attack our village, this commission should naturally be considered a successful completion by the brave man. As for the Adventurers Guild, we will immediately arrange for someone to go to Magtown to explain. Quote, the villagers didn't care whether the demon flame dragon was dead or not. They were only worried about whether their village would be attacked. After hearing Yi Cheng's assurance that the demonic flame dragon would not come out to cause trouble again for at least 100 years, these villagers naturally patted their chests and promised that they would definitely go to the Adventurers Guild to explain to Yi City. 2034, Tokyo, Japan. On a hospital bed, Shima Yosake, who had been in a coma for 17 years due to a car accident, finally woke up. For the past 17 years, Yosuke Shima's family and people at the hospital all thought that Yosuke Shima had become a vegetative state due to the car accident. However, they did not know that Yosuke Shima had been in a hospital called Granbach for the past 17 years. Mal's other world activities. And it wasn't until now that Yosuke Shima, who had been wandering around Grand Bahamar for 17 years, finally found a way to return to this world with the help of his friends, and ended that period in the different world trip. When Shima Yosake woke up in the hospital, a young man with chestnut brown hair and glasses came to the hospital with a reluctant expression and entered Shima Yosake's ward. The other party's name was Takaoka Kifumi, and he was Shima Yosake's nephew. Because the school he attended was near the hospital, he followed the family meeting and came to take his uncle home this time. To be honest, Gaokyu Jingwen had no impression of the so-called uncle, and he had no past memories with his uncle, so Gaokyu Jingwen didn't have much feelings for this uncle who suddenly woke up. This is not a strange thing. It was 2017 when Shima Yosake had a car accident, and 17 years have passed. How old was Takao Kubumi back then? For the so-called uncle, let alone the emotional basis, it can only be said that it has no influence at all. The decision of this family meeting was to let him take his uncle back first and greet him for a period of time. In Gaokyu Jingwen's view, this was just adding another layer of embarrassment to his already difficult life. The uncle who regained consciousness is said to have no physical discomfort and is completely free to move around. But 17 years of society's derailment has undoubtedly led to the fact that the current uncle is obviously a rural person whose knowledge has not kept up with the times. With his uncle's conditions, it is very difficult to find a job to make a living in this city, so in summary, he, Takao Jingwen, will probably have to bear his uncle's food expenses in the future. Originally, these were not big problems. After all, the family just asked him to take care of his uncle temporarily for a while. Although the hard work may be a bit hard, it is still his relative, and this is also the decision of the family meeting, and Gaokyu Jingwen will not choose to refuse. However, when Gaokyu Jingwen came to the hospital and had a brief exchange with his uncle, the uncle actually said that he had gone to another world and learned magic during the 17 years since he was in coma. In modern society, talking about swords and magic, there is no doubt that Takao Jingwen naturally regarded his awakened uncle as a so-called lunatic. Didn't the doctor say before that after some persistence, my uncle had no other physical discomfort? Does this mean there are no other discomforts? Or was it that the head was missed during the scan? This is a society ruled by law. If your uncle is mentally ill, if something happens, as the guardian, you will have to bear a certain responsibility. Quote, Gaokyu Jingwen, who originally felt that taking care of his uncle was quite difficult and troublesome, stood up directly, and then prepared to go outside the ward to call his family, saying that this task was too difficult and that he, Gaokyu Jingwen, was really powerless. However, just as Gaokyu Jingwen was about to leave the ward, he saw his uncle who was making blind gestures and using magic on the table. A strong wind suddenly surrounded him, and then the water glass on the table appeared under Gaokyu Jingwen's stunned expression. It rose from the sky. I see. To use magic and chant spells in this world, you cannot use the language of another world. Do you need to use Japanese? Watching Shima Yosake push up his glasses and control the water glass to fall with a calm expression, and then his body floated without any wind, Takaoka Kifumi was dumbfounded on the spot. If the water cup before could be said to be a trick or magic, then the uncle floating in the air now really scared his jaw off. Hey, Jingwen, have you seen your uncle? What's the reason you called? Sure enough, is it too much to ask a child like you, who has just started working, to take care of your uncle? Or, the family voices coming from the mobile phone finally woke up Takao Jingwen, who was still in a state of shock. After realizing that what his uncle just said was true, and that he had really gone to a different world in the past 17 years and learned magic, Takao Jingwen instantly felt his blood boiling. This is real magic, and he is the only one who knows this secret now. Takao Jingfumi is also a lover of light novels. How could he not be excited when he saw this scene in front of him? His uncle, who was also good at magic, quickly saw business opportunities. With such an uncle taking care of you, are you still afraid of living in embarrassment? This is not a drag, this is simply a boss who can make himself a winner in life. What are you talking about? I've already met my uncle. I'm calling to inform you that I'm going to share a room with my uncle in Tokyo. After all, he is my uncle, I will take good care of him, you can rest assured. Quote, Takaoka Kifumi, who had previously regarded Shima Yosake as a dragster and a lunatic, immediately transformed into a little fanboy after confirming that his uncle could indeed do magic, and started to pack up his uncle's things with great enthusiasm. 17 years, in a modern society where technology is booming, was enough to derail Yosuke Shima, who had been in a coma for many years, from the modern world. So after taking his uncle home, Gaokyu Jingwen first took out his computer and asked his uncle to learn and supplement the new things and common sense of the past 17 years. Fortunately, in 2017, computers were already quite common, and Shima Yosake didn't even know how to use them. Although Yosuke Shima was a little unfamiliar since he hadn't touched a computer keyboard in 17 years, as a former homely boy, when he touched the keyboard in his hands, all the memories that had been silent in his body suddenly came to life. Seeing his uncle operating the computer at a speed that he could not compare to, the bored Takao Jingwen also began to ask his uncle about the other world. And because his uncle, who was concentrating on studying modern knowledge, didn't want to be disturbed, he used elf magic to play a short alien movie directly to Takacho Jingwen. There are a few people here. The woman is from the elf tribe. Her name is too long, I forgot it, but we all call her Kui. As for the other white-haired man, he is a person from another world who traveled to Grand Bahamar like me, and he is also my best friend in that world. Without his help, I probably would have died several times. Even being able to come back this time is because of his help. Quote. Hearing his uncle's words, Gaokyu Jingwen also showed a look of surprise on his face. He did not expect that travelers who traveled through time could actually meet fellow villagers in another world. So uncle, has your best friend named Nanye City returned to this world now? Takacho Jingwen, who had just watched a short episode of Alien Theater, was extremely curious about the existence of Night City. As we all know, when we as third parties watch some movies, TV series or animations, we will always involuntarily put ourselves into the characters, and Takao Kifumi is no exception. In the small alien theater that his uncle showed him, apart from himself, who appeared the most often, the other person who appeared the most was undoubtedly Yi Cheng, his uncle's best friend. And when his uncle appeared with this Night City, Takacho Jingwen would always unconsciously put himself into his role. Don't ask why. Gaokyu Jingwen is still a young man after all, but the uncle in the different world theater seems conservatively estimated to be 30 years old. And when watching anime or PV, who doesn't like strong and handsome characters? The uncle in the picture is indeed very strong, but Yi Cheng is not only strong enough, but also handsome enough. Looking at the elegant figure holding a long sword and killing various monsters with gorgeous swordsmanship, as well as the silver hair and handsome face like the bright moon, didn't this sense of substitution come up instantly? Yi Cheng has not returned to his original world. According to what he said, it seems that there is no need. However, he did say that when he figured out how to create righteous bones, or something, he would come to our place to have a look. Quote. The uncle who had been studying on the computer for a long time also raised his head at this moment. Through the modern knowledge he had just collected and learned, he was already thinking about what kind of job he would find to make money. Because he learned magic, his uncle's mental power is now much stronger than that of ordinary people, and his learning ability is also stronger than before. In just a few hours, he had roughly absorbed most of the knowledge that the world had been missing in the past 17 years. In today's society, it is obviously not acceptable to directly display magic in front of outsiders. This is not a different world. If you really do this, there is a high probability that you will be taken away by some special agency and then inserted into various tubes for research. Although in this world, my uncle felt that his strength was enough to dominate everyone. But now that he has returned to his original world, his uncle is prepared to abide by the rules here and live well, otherwise he will only cause trouble for his family. So after doing some research on the internet, Yosuke Shima discovered that there is such a thing as online tubing. In this place called Yutuan, everyone on it is talented and well-spoken. My uncle even found Sega fanatics like himself on it. You must know that it is no longer 2017. 17 years have passed and Sega has long since declined. Therefore, if you can still maintain your original intention for Sega like yourself, your uncle will naturally regard these people as confidants. And because he was having so much fun chatting with these people, when his uncle realized his original purpose, out of curiosity, he posted a post on it for questioning. If you just came back from another world and learned magic, what kind of job should you do to make money without causing trouble to your nephew and attracting official attention? Close hollow corner bracket. Those who can chat with Sega fans, like my uncle, are obviously otakus of a certain age. When my uncle raised this hypothetical question, his friends on the internet also suspected him, and a heated discussion began around this topic. The homeschool guys were really talented, and their brains were big enough. They quickly came up with a lot of plans, which made the uncle, who was originally quite troubled by this, look like he suddenly realized something. Out of curiosity and fear that his uncle, who had been out of touch with society for a long time, would be deceived, Gaokyu Jingwen also put his head over to see the answers given by those on the internet. Since you have learned magic, you must have the ability to fly, so why not deliver food or express delivery? It's very fast and consumes no fuel. It's a net income every day. It's no problem to make tens of thousands of yen in one day. Quote, idiot, you have learned magic and you actually use it to deliver food. You really have no ambition. And flying around in the sky all day long, does this count as hiding from others? Do you think you are Doraemon? I think it's better to perform magic than deliver food. Other people's magic is just a show of skills, but you are a real magician. No matter how skilled you are, you can't find your loopholes. If you don't know how to do it, who will be popular? Quote, the idea of performing magic is good, but once the trick is revealed, it will be quite troublesome. The best thing for me to watch is shooting online videos. There are so many internet users now, so I don't have to worry about income at all. If possible, it would be great to take some videos of Sega game backgrounds, since we are all enthusiasts after all. Quote, you know how to do magic, but you still have to work on a bubble teapot. Can you copy magic? When he read the comments on the internet, Takacho Jingwen was also stunned. I have to say that the minds of these talents on the internet are indeed big enough. Except for those illegal operations, Gaokyu Jingwen really found many jobs suitable for his uncle. So uncle, have you found a job suitable for you among these people's suggestions? Regarding his uncle's job, Gaokyu Jingwen originally thought that he would have to worry about it, but he didn't expect that his uncle would end the problem so quickly. That's right, I plan to become an online video uploader. As for the subject matter, just choose some clips of me in another world to edit. Memory Wizard can do this, so don't worry at all. If conditions permit, shooting some videos of Sega game background themes is also possible. Quote, to be honest, when the friend on the internet posted a video of filming the background of Sega games, Shima Yosake's eyes lit up and he was ready to do this work. Although it is a good idea to use magic instead of magic performances, and it is not difficult to make money after it becomes popular. But the point of the problem is that my uncle doesn't like to show his face, and if he performs live, there will always be some clues. Who can guarantee that he is the only one in the world who can do magic? But if you shoot online videos and post them online, the situation is different. If you put something on an online video, even if it is magical, people will only think that your special effects production skills are excellent, and across the screen, even those who are really experts will not be able to feel your own magic. You can make money steadily without exposing yourself. This is indeed the best job for you. Hearing the reason why his uncle chose to be an online video blogger, Takacho Jingwen was also slightly surprised. Because although my uncle is now 34 years old, he looks not only lacking in common sense, but even a little naive because he has been in a different world for 17 years. It is also for this reason that Gaokyu Jingwen has been worried that his uncle will be quite casual in his choice of work, and even use magic to commit some illegal acts. But now it seems that his previous worries were obviously unnecessary. His uncle was much more mature than he thought, and he was obviously more cautious when considering the angle of things than he thought. Well, it's probably because of Night City. When I first arrived in the other world, I was an innocent young boy. After repeated blows, I finally understood the dangers of society. While Shima Yosake was talking, he played a few scenes of Takaoka Kifumi when he first arrived in another world. From being beaten up as an orc at the beginning, to being sold for 3 copper coins when he had no money to pay the bill, to later helping a village that was short of water, and almost being burned to death, and even saving a pair of siblings, only to be pushed away. Cliff. After watching these clips, Takacho Jingwen, who was originally very yearning for life in a different world, instantly became depressed. He suddenly discovered that the novels and animations were all lies. Not every time traveler arrived in a different world and became a winner in life with great strength and beautiful women. Regarding his uncle's death, Gaokyu Jingwen even sincerely felt that it was really not easy for his uncle to come back alive. Moreover, it is not unreasonable for the handsome man named Yi Cheng to be regarded as a close friend by his uncle. Because Gaokyu Jingwen saw clearly that Yi Cheng not only helped his uncle once, but also acted like a life mentor and taught his uncle many principles. In order to celebrate his uncle's discharge from the hospital and to congratulate his uncle on finding a suitable job, Gaokyu Jingwen also took out the money he saved from working and planned to go out and buy some high-end food to celebrate tonight. If you can't let go of your child, you can't trap the wolf, and if you want to live a prosperous life, your uncle who can use magic must be coaxed. In the short time that Takaoka Kifumi went out to buy ingredients, Shima Yosake also used flying magic to go directly to the equipment store and buy some related equipment for shooting videos. Because he used flying magic, Takaoka Kifumi, who had gone out to buy ingredients, just came back long after Shima Yosake returned home. And this time he didn't come back alone. Apart from himself, there was a cute girl with short black hair, glasses and an amazing figure beside Gaokyu Jingwen. Fujimiya Sumika was Takaoka Kifumi's childhood sweetheart. Takaoka Kifumi never thought that he would meet her by chance downstairs. And when she learned that Takaoka Kifumi also lived nearby, Fujimiya Chungxia, who had a crush on Takaoka Kifumi, expressed her desire to come and sit with him, which led to the current situation. Takaoka Jingwen wanted to cover up the fact that his uncle was capable of magic. Originally, he was thinking of how to inform his uncle so that he would not use magic in front of his childhood sweetheart. But when the two of them pushed the door open, they saw that their uncle was opening his magic storage space and taking out props one by one to see if they could be used for the next shoot. Gaokyu Jingwen, winking face. Fujimiya Sumika, winking face. And when he saw an uncle with a wretched and gloomy face in the house of his crush Takaoka Kifumi, with swords, guns, swords and halberds on the tatami in front of him, Fujimiya Sumika was instantly stunned. The uncle's extreme appearance, coupled with his action of just taking out a long sword from the storage space, immediately made Fujimiya Sumika feel as if he had entered a den of thieves. Jingwen, he is. Before Fujimiya Sumika could say anything, her uncle's figure suddenly stabbed in front of her, and stretched out a hand towards her head, preparing to use memory oblivion to erase the girl's previous memory. Uncle, she is my childhood sweetheart. Because of Takaoka Kifumi's words, the hand that was supposed to be grabbing Fujimiya Sumika's forehead suddenly stopped in midair. Takaoka Kifumi didn't know what his uncle had just planned to do to Fujimiya Sumika. He had just exposed the relationship between the two in desperation because his uncle wanted to silence him. Since you are Jingwen's friend, forget it. You should help us keep the secret, right? Looking at Yan Yi's uncle's dark side, and having just experienced something like that, Fujimiya Sumika's head was nodding like a chicken pecking at rice. Although she was the king of children when she was a child and had a strong personality, the scene just now was the first time she had experienced it in her life, so she still had some lingering fears at this moment. Seeing that his uncle's secret had been exposed, Takaoka Kifumi naturally had no choice but to reveal the truth to Fujimiya Sumika, saying that his uncle knew magic and had just returned from another world. Jingwen, I didn't expect you to have friends. I thought you were a lonely person like me. However, female friends are very troublesome. Once the number increases, a terrifying environment called Shira Field will be born. Quote. Takaoka Kifumi, who was still explaining to Fujimiya Sumika, showed a hint of surprise when he heard his uncle's words at this moment. Because when my uncle traveled to another world, some two-dimensional attributes such as Tsunere were not yet popular, and famous scenes like Shira Field should not have become popular yet, but my uncle actually knew that such things as Shira Field vocabulary. Oh, I heard this kind of vocabulary in Night City, and he often fell into such situations. So he would often warn me that if I have too many female friends, I must not let them get together, otherwise my life may be in danger. Quote. As Shima Yosake spoke, he once again used the memory elf's memory replay ability to play a small theater from another world for Takaoka Kifumi. Seeing that there was another different world theater to watch, Takacho Jingfumi quickly put down the ingredients in his hands. He didn't even have time to take care of his childhood sweetheart beside him, so he quickly found a chair and started watching. Fujimiya Sumika originally wanted to leave because the impression her uncle had just given her made her quite scared, but she considered Takaoka Kifumi's safety. At the same time, she also aroused a certain degree of curiosity about the so-called different world theater, so she finally had the courage to sit down next to Takacho Jingfumi. The scene shown by the uncle was the scene after Yechung and the others successfully defeated the demonic flame dragon. After successfully solving the demonic flame dragon's request, my uncle met Yi Cheng and the elf girl Kui again in the sealed city Rubodrum. Shima Yosake will come to the sealed city, Lubodrum. He has only heard of the barrier magic here and thinks that analyzing the barrier here may be helpful for him to return to the original world. When Yi Cheng and Kui Wei came to the sealed city, they originally heard that there were clues about ancient relics here, so Yi Cheng accompanied Kui here. In the picture, Shima Yosake is holding two elemental swords made by elves against each other, and the magic pillar formed by them instantly destroyed the barrier protecting Rubodrum. Seeing the scene on the screen, Takaoka Kifumi and Fujimiya Sumika were instantly confused. They couldn't understand why their uncle had said that this barrier magic was an important barrier to protect the city a second ago, but why he said it the next second. The barrier was destroyed. Because I want to figure out the principle of this barrier magic, which should be helpful for me to return to my original world. And even if the barrier is destroyed, I have the ability to repair it with the help of the elves. Quote. After hearing what their uncle said, Gaokyu Jingwen and the two looked at the projection screen in front of them again. The uncle said that after destroying the enchantment magic, he had the ability to repair the enchantment, but in the image, after destroying the enchantment, his expression was obviously a little panicked. Well, I was so selfless when I was studying the barrier that when I reacted, nearly 1,000 legendary monsters had already surrounded the sealed city. Many of them entered the city directly because of the disappearance of the barrier. So if I repair the barrier at that time, those legendary monsters that have entered the city will also be trapped in the sealed city. Quote. After hearing their uncle's explanation, Takaoka Kifumi and Fujimiya Sumika were speechless. They knew that their uncle had no ill intentions, and he probably didn't know why those monsters suddenly swarmed over them like sharks smelling blood, even though the barrier had only temporarily disappeared for a while. However, it is wrong to be wrong. Because Kui stopped him in time in the original plot, when the barrier disappeared this time, many warcraft had already entered the city and began to hunt the humans in the city. And it was at this time that Yi Cheng and Shima Yosake, who were also in the sealed city, met again. Yi Cheng and the elf girl Kui were wandering on the street and looking for clues about ancient relics. Since it was Yi Cheng's first time to come to the sealed city, Kui Huan was explaining to Yi Cheng how awesome the barrier of this sealed city was with a knowledgeable attitude. It is said that it is also a super powerful barrier magic left over from ancient times. It has protected the sealed city for hundreds of thousands of years. Even powerful monsters like the demonic flame dragon are helpless against this barrier. However, Kui was still blowing the magic of the barrier that sealed the city to the sky and the earth. But the next second, Yi Cheng saw that the huge barrier that enveloped the town was directly hit by a magic light beam. A hole was punched out. Is this the absolute defensive barrier that no one can break? Seeing that the huge barrier covering the sealed city of Rubodrum gradually faded and disappeared due to a big hole being broken, compared to Yi Cheng's calm complaints, the elf girl was completely stunned. Because she really didn't mess around before. The barrier magic that sealed the city has been guarding this place for many years. Not only is the defense strength extremely high, but there has never been any problem. As the barrier was destroyed, all the monsters living outside the town seemed to sense something at the same time and all rushed towards the town. The first ones to enter the sealed city are the strongest and fastest legendary monsters. Howl. When I saw a giant wolf that was at least over 5 meters long and had jet black hair, it crashed through the city gate and started wreaking havoc on the streets. And in the path of the giant wolf's impact, a father and daughter who were setting up a stall were about to be killed by the wolf because they couldn't avoid it. Yi Cheng, who was still standing next to Kui, was crushed under his feet in an instant. Ground. In just a few fleeting seconds, the distance of nearly 100 meters was instantly shortened to nothing. When Yi Cheng's figure appeared again, he had already arrived in front of the 5-meter-long black wolf monster. Yakami style 3 styles, Mad Butterfly. Yi Cheng stabbed in front of the giant wolf. The moment his figure appeared in front of the opponent, he also made a motion to draw the sword. As for the legendary magical beast Black Wolf, which was originally about to bite the human father and daughter, he didn't know how the human man in front of him suddenly appeared in front of him just now. But a mere human being with the strength of a legendary monster would naturally not take the opponent seriously, so he opened his bloody mouth even wider in an attempt to kill Yi Cheng and the father and daughter behind him. Swallowed in one gulp. However, just when its fangs were about to touch Yi Cheng's body, crisscrossing sword lights erupted in the air in an instant. The next second, the giant wolf that was still opening its mouth in an attempt to bite Yicheng and the others suddenly had horrific scars on its hair like steel needles. A large amount of blood splashed out from Mo Lang's body like a fountain. When Yi Cheng sheathed the long sword in his hand, the body of this huge legendary demon wolf also collapsed. And in the brief flashback, what the legendary demon wolf saw in his sight was a blue butterfly that was transformed and flew by the light of the sword. It never figured out how it died just now. As a majestic legendary monster, no matter where it is placed, it is the overlord of one party. It has eaten a lot of humans before, and even destroyed a small town by itself, but just now it was killed by a young human boy. Can humans really be this strong? Who is he? No one answered the question of this legendary demon wolf, because the human boy who killed him did not look at it twice. Instead, after killing it, he slowly walked towards the father and daughter. Kui, you find a way to evacuate and protect the people here. In such a big town, there should be an adventurers guild. You try to cooperate with them. I went to look for the initiator of the destruction of the barrier. The magic light beam that destroyed the barrier just now should have erupted from the town. I still remember the approximate location. Quote, Kui didn't have much opinion on the distribution of Night City. Since the person who destroyed the barrier has the ability to destroy the barrier that sealed the city, he must be very strong. If she were to find the initiator, even if she found him, she might not be his opponent. Fulfill the contract, follow my summons and summon the magic, the demonic flame dragon. In order not to let Kui carry out the task of evacuating and protecting the people by herself, Yi Cheng left a wage earner for him before leaving. As the huge flame magic array was quickly outlined on the ground, a huge figure also gradually appeared in outline in the flames. Roar! Along with a dragon roar that resounded throughout the sealed city, the flames surrounding the demonic flame dragon were all shaken away. It is nearly 50 meters in size, with red dragon scales exuding high temperatures all over its body, ferocious dragon horns and sharp teeth, and a huge dragon tail that can easily knock down the surrounding buildings with a single sweep behind it. When the demonic flame dragon appeared on the scene, the residents of the sealed city who had previously regarded Yi City as a brave were instantly dumbfounded. The legendary demonic flame dragon was actually summoned. The one who can summon a being like the demonic flame dragon is either a so-called god or a real demon king. In short, the so-called brave should definitely not be able to do it. My lord, what's the important thing for calling me here? Hey, isn't this the sealed city, Lubadrum? I had wanted to occupy this town as a lair before, but that enchantment magic kept blocking my steps. Now that barrier has disappeared. Is it your fault, my lord? I see, my lord planned to conquer this town completely, so he summoned me. Please rest assured, my lord, my demonic flame dragon will definitely. With the debut scene full of special effects, the demonic flame dragon's performance was instantly full. However, what this legendary dragon said after it appeared made everyone present even more fearful, and also Yi Cheng beside him was speechless and held his forehead. I am a decent character, not a villain boss. I summoned you because I want you to assist Kui and protect the people who are evacuating here. Have you seen those monsters somewhere? They are your opponents this time. There should be no problem in taking them down, right? Quote. According to what Kui said before, the monsters that invaded the city now are all legendary monsters, and the demonic flame dragon is also a legendary monster. With one enemy against many, Yi Cheng used a questioning tone. However, facing Yi Cheng's questioning tone, the demonic flame dragon showed its arrogant attitude as a legendary dragon. My lord, are you kidding me? Do these fish-like existences deserve to be compared with me? I am the strongest dragon. Even if it is also called a legendary level monster, it is still divided into 3 levels. In the face of existence like me, they can only be reduced to my appetizing ideas. Demonic Flame Dragon was still bragging, but Yi Cheng obviously had no patience to listen anymore. He jumped up and used Shunpo to quickly rush to the place where the magic pillar was found. If that's the case, then you should work hard. Yi Cheng had not noticed before that the legendary demonic flame dragon actually had the attribute of being a talkative. But at this moment, he obviously doesn't have time to listen to the demonic flame dragon bragging. If the barrier magic is not repaired as soon as possible, then legendary monsters from outside will continue to pour in. No matter how powerful they are, they will be exhausted sooner or later. While heading to the center of the town, Yi Cheng also ran into a girl from the Ice Clan who had not seen him for several months, Ma Beilu. Yi Cheng didn't know why the other party appeared here, but when the other party expressed his willingness to help, Yi Cheng did not refuse. The strength of the enemy is unknown, but judging from the barrier magic that the opponent can easily destroy, even the demonic flame dragon is helpless, the strength should not be too weak. Although according to Kui, it is much easier to destroy the barrier magic that seals the city internally than externally, but now that there is a free thug, Yecheng will naturally not refuse. When he arrived at the location where the magic pillar had erupted, Yi Cheng saw a figure wearing a hooded robe, holding 2 elemental swords thoughtfully. For such a mysterious person, Yi Cheng was not polite, let alone moral. He directly clenched the long knife forged from the material of the poisonous dragon in his hand and launched a sneak attack behind him. Accompanied by a sonic explosion, Yi Cheng's figure exploded out like a cannonball as the air was blasted. 5th style of Yagami style, Star Bite. Yi Cheng, who used Shunpo and strengthened his physical strength to rush towards the opponent's back, was as fast as a shooting star at this moment. During this high-speed sprint, Yi Cheng also pulled out the long knife from his waist and aimed at the opponent's heart, completing the high-speed long knife thrust. This is the so-called Star Bite, in which you bite the opponent's heart in a star-struck manner. However, what surprised Yi Cheng was that the speed with which he burst out in a short period of time was already quite astonishing, and few people could even react in such a short period of time. But the mysterious man who was attacked by him seemed to have eyes on his back when Yi Cheng's long knife suddenly stabbed his heart. The figure in black robe also turned around and used the 2 elemental swords in his hands to make a cross posture like an X to resist Yi Cheng's Star Bite. Boom! The moment the black long knife collided with the 2 elemental swords, a terrifying burst of air swept all around in an instant. Giant rocks weighing at least several tons, at this moment, were also under this impact, like butter, falling from the originally flat ground. Being squeezed and raised. However, because Yi Cheng came with full force and obviously had an advantage in physical fitness, the other party had to parry in a hurry and was the one who was attacked by surprise. Therefore, although Yi Cheng's stabbing sword failed to penetrate the opponent's heart, the powerful impact caused the opponent's body to fly backwards nearly 100 meters away, as if it had been directly hit by an ancient dragon. If Yi Cheng's attack was taken head-on, the opponent's flying distance should have been farther, but the opponent seemed to be able to fly magic. When it was knocked upside down by the impact, a burst of reinforcement suddenly blew from its back, which offset a lot of the impact force. But this was not over yet. After the black-robed figure landed and slid for a certain distance, it was about to say something after seeing Yi Cheng's appearance. A blue-haired girl holding an ice scythe suddenly appeared behind the mysterious man, again, and clenched the frost sword that exploded with cold air in her hand, directly freezing the mysterious man, whose body was still stiff. It became an ice sculpture. Needless to say, the person who took action was naturally the otaku girl of the Ice Clan, Maybailu, and her cooperation with Yi Cheng had already been discussed between the two of them before. The barrier magic that can destroy the sealed city cannot be an ordinary minion, so before taking action, Yi Cheng anticipated that his sneak attack might miss. That's why Maybailu was arranged to hide in the dark and wait for the opportunity. When the opponent's vulnerability was exposed due to his sneak attack, he would carry out a second sneak attack. The final result was obvious. Ma Beilu was obviously a deadbeat, but her magic power and control over the timing of the battle were beyond Yi Cheng's expectations. Perhaps as a member of the Ice Clan, the frozen divine sword can exert greater power in his hands, but in the end, this mysterious man was directly frozen into an ice sculpture by them. Mr. Yi Chang, when I was taking action just now, I seemed to hear this person calling your name. The harsh cold air enveloped the surroundings, completely freezing the black-robed figure in the icicles. Even the surrounding ground was now covered with a thick layer of ice. He called my name, but I shouldn't know. Him. Although he has been in another world for a while now, he really doesn't know many people in Yecheng. Apart from Kui and Sonia, there are at most a few outstanding adventurers. However, when Yi Cheng got closer to the icicles and saw the face of the so-called mysterious man, Yi Cheng was stunned again. O King, the mask of flesh and blood, the myriad things, the feathers, the one who bears the name of man. The heat and strife, rolling southward across the sea, march forward. Chapter 31. Red Cannon. Quote, the giant fireball emitted high temperature and directly enveloped the icicles, and in a very short period of time, evaporated the icicles that exuded a cold air. When he learned that the target of their sneak attack was actually Shima Yosake, Yoroki asked Neighbourhood to unfreeze him. However, who knew that the girl in the abandoned house said that she could only freeze, but she didn't know how to thaw. If it were ordinary ice, with Shima Yosake's strength, he should be able to break free on his own. But the crux of the problem is that the ice released by the frozen divine sword has the attribute of sealing, which is the so-called ice seal. This ice seal can paralyze the body and reduce the activity of magic power in the body. Even if the demonic flame dragon is frozen, it cannot break free at all, so it is called an artifact. It's not impossible to crush it directly with physical attacks, but Yashara is also worried about accidentally beating Shima Yosake, including himself and ice, into slag. So after hesitating for a moment, he finally used the fully chanted Kido to melt the ice seal. Facts have also proved that ice and fire are incompatible with each other. No matter how powerful the ice is, it cannot withstand the continuous baking of the fire. After about a minute, Yosuke Shima, who was trembling and wet, was finally freed from the ice. Yecheng, and Miss Maybailu, why did you attack me just now? In the first sentence after thawing, Shima Yosake raised his inner question. Why did we attack you? I don't know why. Are you so free that you have nothing to do? Why are you destroying the magic that seals the city? It's been a while since we last met. Why do you like to wear black robes now? You don't want to be the protagonist anymore, you want to change your career to be the villain boss, but the key is that you don't have the skills. Quote. In response to Yi Cheng's sharp complaints, Shima Yosake could only explain with an apologetic look. He really didn't expect that. Originally he just wanted to study the barrier magic here, but he ended up causing such a big mess. As for why he wore a black robe and looked mysterious, Shima Yosake said that this was also the advice Yi Cheng gave him before. Because Shima Yosake's beast-like face is too unconventional in this world, Yosake had previously suggested to him that if he entered a town with a large population, it would be best to cover his appearance to a certain extent. It would be stupid to wear a mask or something because that would only make you more conspicuous. Generally, cool guys wear hooded black robes. That is the standard outfit for big guys. Not only does it create a sense of mystery, but it also has a very cool look. At that time, Yi Cheng just said it casually, but based on past experience, Shima Yosake took it seriously. Well, I seem to have said that before. But the effect is very obvious now, isn't it? The reason why we didn't recognize you just now was because we thought you were some mysterious boss, so your costume is quite perfect. Quote. Seeing that Yosake and Shima Yosake started arguing over their clothes, Maybailu, who was standing by, could not stand it anymore. So at this moment, I couldn't help but remind you, you too, I think the issue of enchantment should be more important than such inconsequential matters now. If the barrier is not repaired as soon as possible, more and more legendary monsters will flood into the sealed city. Quote. After hearing Maybailu's words, even Takaoka Kifumi and Fujimiya Sumika, who were watching the replay of this memory, couldn't help but give this homely girl a thumbs up. As the audience, they were all looking forward to the follow-up, but the uncle and the two guys started arguing over such insignificant things. From Takacho Jingwen's point of view, the former Mr. Yi Cheng was obviously a very reliable companion, but he didn't expect that he would go offline like his uncle at the critical moment. Is it because they are all time travelers? So it's similar in a way. Because it was a memory elf replay, Takaoka Kifumi and Fujimiya Sumika, as the audience, could still see the battle between the elf girl Sui and the demon flame dragon. Compared to Yi Cheng and his uncle who were still arguing, Miss Elf and demon flame dragon were in a tough fight. The demonic flame dragon that was summoned before was indeed not bragging. Although it was also called a legendary monster, other monsters were obviously not at the same level of strength as her. As a dragon at the top of the food chain, her menu obviously includes not only ordinary humans, but even some of the legendary monsters that have poured into the sealed city are just her food. Kui used defensive magic to protect the people in the sealed city from evacuating, while the demonic flame dragon acted as the rear guard and faced the incoming wave of monsters. Flame breath comparable to the temperature of lava erupted from the demonic flame dragon's mouth, and in just an instant, the surrounding area turned into a sea of fire. The dozens of monsters that were rushing at the front were instantly turned into charred corpses. The aftermath of the battle with the legendary monsters is undoubtedly terrifying. With the demonic flame dragon's breath, not only those monsters were burned to death, but even the buildings and even the ground in the town were turned into a pile of ruins. With scorched earth. The purpose of Kui's use of defensive magic is to protect ordinary people from the aftermath of these battles. Although it is not the main target, you must know that the heat wave caused by the breath of the demon flame dragon alone is enough to cause severe burns to the skin of ordinary people. There is nothing wrong with the demonic flame dragon being very strong, but if there are too many ants, they can kill an elephant. What's more, the monsters attacking the sealed city now are not so-called ants, but large monsters of legendary level. Under the powerful magic one after another, the demonic flame dragon has turned the surroundings into a sea of fire, and the number of magical beasts killed in its hands is only 3 digits. But she is not a perpetual motion machine. No matter how powerful she is and how powerful her magic power is, there will always be a time when it runs out. When the magic power in his body was no longer enough to support his continued use of dragon breath, a large number of monsters in front of him also overcame their fear of the demonic flame dragon and began to swarm towards it. But when various types of monsters that were much smaller than the demon flame dragon climbed onto the demon flame dragon's body, opened their mouths and started biting, the demon flame dragon also angrily used its claws to tear these small 3 monsters apart. Some low-class fish monsters also want to climb onto my body. I only accept those beautiful little female dragons, and you trash fish are not even worthy of kicking my shoes. Although her tone was awesome and coaxing, only Demon Yanlong knew that if Yecheng didn't solve the problem quickly and come to support her, she would really be in trouble. They originally thought that they had signed a contract with terrifying strength. With the fighting prowess of their master and servant, there should be no existence in this world that they could not afford to offend, but who knew that they would encounter such a difficult battle when they were summoned for the first time. Perhaps the inner roar of the demonic flame dragon was heard. When it used its claws to tear apart a snake-like monster that climbed onto it, a film-like shield appeared over the city again and sealed the entire city. Shrouded again. 3 styles of the Yagami style, crazy butterfly. The criss-crossing sword lights flashed in front of the demon flame dragon. The next second, the demon flame dragon was shocked to find that his body suddenly became lighter. The reason was that all the monsters that originally pounced on her body were cut into pieces under the light of these crisscrossing knives. The blue butterflies are flying around the body of the demonic flame dragon, like the undead butterfly ferrying the soul, which is both beautiful and very desolate. When the demon flame dragon was still in an illusion, looking at the blue butterflies flying in front of her, Yi Cheng's figure suddenly appeared on her back and said to her, "Do you still have the strength to fly?" Demonic Flame Dragon was slightly dissatisfied with Yi Cheng appearing on her back, because she always felt that only the little female dragon that she recognized could climb to this position. However, Yi Cheng is now her master, and the terrifying strength that the other party has just shown makes the Demon Flame Dragon have no guts to say, "No. My lord underestimates me too much. Although we have been fighting for a long time, if our opponents are just these miscellaneous fish monsters, there will be no problem at all. Regardless of whether you can withstand it or not, you must be relaxed enough in the situation. You are a proud dragon. What if you are looked down upon by this human master because of this? If that's the case, then take me and fly over this town. Before coming here, I had asked Mabel and the adventurers in this town to try their best to drive the monsters that entered the city in one direction. Quote. After hearing what Yi Cheng said, Demon Yanlong immediately understood that Yi Cheng was planning to do something big. However, she was totally bragging just now, let alone her magic power. After a fierce battle just now, her physical strength was almost exhausted. It may be no problem to fly with Yi City now, but if she is asked to deal with the remaining monsters, there is really nothing she can do. Yi Cheng also saw Demon Yanlong's embarrassment, but considering that the other party had been fighting for his orders for so long, and even suffered a lot of physical injuries. Therefore, Yi City at this moment also left enough face for the proud Lord Demon Flame Dragon. Boss Demon Flame Dragon has just killed so many legendary monsters, so you can do anything. Don't worry, just take me to fly and leave the rest to me. I promise to make you the center of attention in this battle. Quote. Demon Yanlong, who was still a little emotional at first, suddenly showed a humane expression of satisfaction when he heard what Yi Cheng said at this moment. He suddenly felt that Yi Cheng, a human being, was quite sensible, so he reluctantly let him ride on her once. Roar. Accompanied by the roar of a loud dragon roar, the demonic flame dragon, whose visual appeal was immediately stretched, mobilized the little magic power left on his body to directly activate the skin effects, and then incited the huge dragon wings, carrying it with him. Night City rushed over the town. Take me to the sky where the monsters are densest. At the beginning, Mo Yanlong didn't know what Yi Cheng wanted to do, because as far as she knew, Yi Cheng should be a warrior with excellent swordsmanship and fighting skills. This point was basically confirmed by the demon flame dragon from the opponent's previous battle with him and the scene just now. But when she was flying and feeling the terrifying magic power emanating from its back, the demonic flame dragon was stunned again. She had always believed that Yi Cheng was a warrior with excellent combat skills and martial arts. After all, the opponent's physical fitness was so strong that he could pin a giant dragon to the ground and hammer her. But when she felt the magic power emanating from Yi Cheng at this moment, the demonic flame dragon was completely dumbfounded. It seems that she had a deep misunderstanding of her cheap master. She is from the warrior school, even if she is a first-rate magician. No, even if she is a giant dragon, she does not have such outrageous magical power. At this moment, Yi Cheng stood on the back of the demonic flame dragon, and his clothes were rustled by the burst of magical energy. This is the first time since Yi Cheng came to this world that all his spiritual pressure, magic power has been completely unleashed. And this extremely powerful magic power was so thick that it was like substance at this moment, turning directly into a magic pillar and rushing into the sky. Originally, under such a powerful magic pillar, the recently repaired ceiling city barrier should be easily broken like an eggshell again. But the moment the barrier was broken, it was quickly repaired. Needless to say, the person who constantly repairs and makes up for the barrier is naturally Shima Yosake, which is why the other party does not appear on the battlefield. Because Yi City entrusted him, his magic might make the barrier here unbearable, so he was entrusted to hide far away to repair the barrier. Originally, although Yi Cheng's magic power was strong, it was not so strong. However, on the night when he completed the Demon Flame Dragon's commission, Yi Cheng finally discovered the correct way to open his plug-in. That night, Yi Cheng had a dream. In the dream, he entered a mysterious space and met himself there wearing a Death Overlord uniform and straw sandals. The moment they saw each other, Yi Cheng understood that this was an upgrade of his third-party illegal software. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.